Fitzpatrick takes the snap, drops back, lobs it back right corner. Decker! He's got it! Touchdown! Eric Decker scores! And the Jets have won it in overtime!
This is the Jet Take with Ben Blessington and Kyle Fahey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Jet Take. I'm your host, Ben Blessington. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Money, Kyle Fahey. Kyle, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. We have another uneventful week. We have a special guest on the line, and the draft is quickly approaching, so you know it's my time of year.
Yes, we are very close to the draft, about 2 weeks away. As Kyle mentioned, not too much news has happened. A few under-the-radar signings in Charles Johnson, the former wide receiver of the Minnesota Vikings and the Carolina Panthers, as well as middle linebacker Kevin Minter, who played under Coach Todd Bowles in Arizona and was recently with Cincinnati. So those are the only two real moves, I believe, that happened, Kyle. And then, obviously, the preseason schedule was released this year, but is obviously huge breaking news. But
yeah,
really just the entire NFC East and then the Falcons. It's pretty much we used to just have – we always played the Giants, then it was the Giants and the Eagles, and now it looks like we're just going to be playing the Giants, Eagles, and Redskins as always. But then, yes, we open with the Falcons. So I guess that is when we'll see the Jets' newest quarterback. Against Atlanta. Anyways, yes, as Kyle mentioned, we have Joel Corry on the line, who is a NFL cap expert who writes for CBS Sports. And I can't remember, Kyle, it might have been you. I can't remember if he was on the show before or not.
No, we tried to get him on in season 1, but it didn't work out logistically.
The name sounded familiar as Kyle. Yeah. Kyle handled this one, so thank you very much for Kyle, and thank you very much, Joel, for coming on. But anyways, so we have that, and just under a minute. Really quickly, we just want to tell you where you guys can follow us. At the Jet Take on Twitter is the best place to reach out to us. Questions of the day is responding to fans, talking about the things that have happened, and obviously, posting our podcast and news for our podcast. We've stayed fairly consistent recently, just trying to do it every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, but occasionally we move it around to Thursday if something horrible, not horrible, but there's something unexpected comes up.
Yeah.
And then that's where you announce it. But for the most part, it's Wednesdays at 8. And then you can also go to iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We're really all over the place. Any place that you listen to podcasts, just search the Jet Take, and I bet we're on there. If we're not, and that's your favorite place to listen to podcasts, again, just tweet us, and we'll do our best to get it on there. And then, obviously, we have to shout out the tremendous work that Turn on the Jets is doing in promoting not only us, but all the great podcasts and articles. It's really just the best place to go for Jets coverage. So go to turnonthejets.com. Scott Mason's helping out with the new digital podcast network, and we're part of it, and we're very happy. So everybody just go to turnonthejets.com. If you don't like our content, I guarantee you there's something there you like. Hopefully you like ours as well. But anyways, without further ado, Kyle, let's go ahead and bring on Joel. Joel, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How you guys doing?
We're good. Thank you for coming on short notice. I guess Kyle mentioned we tried to get you on like 2 years ago. Our voices were a little higher, and we were probably way worse.
Yeah.
But we're glad we can get you on now.
Well, maybe it worked out better that we didn't do it then. We're doing it now.
Yeah, we saved the best guests for last. I mean, I guess, Joel, we didn't want to burn you in season 1. We wanted to get you ready. Season 3, we're hitting our prime right now, Joel. We need to get the best guests on the air. Joel, obviously this is, I don't know, but it sounds like this might be your favorite time of the year. Off seasons, personally, are my favorite time, and obviously as a guy who's a cap expert, it's got to be fun to go through free agency and analyze different contracts, and as teams try to build and become the next great team in the NFL. Obviously, this is Jets podcast, so we kind of want to focus on the Jets. Joel, we'll just start it out very, bluntly. How would you grade Mike Maccagnan's third free agency with the Jets? How is he doing? How has he structured these contracts? Just your overall opinion on the Jets offseason so far.
I'll call it a B. Now, one thing is you guys, they're kind of like the Raiders a couple of years ago before they got good, from the standpoint that you swung for the fences and didn't necessarily connect because you wanted to really go in the high rent into the quarterback market, and Cousins is in Minnesota. And Oakland back then was swinging for like Ndamukong Suh and couldn't land him. And then they took some incremental steps up, and the next year they were able to start landing free agents, even though they hadn't quite turned the corner. So you guys show growth like the Raiders did a couple of years ago, take another step forward, then maybe you'll be a bigger destination. But that notwithstanding, you did end up getting Trumaine Johnson after he spent 2 years on franchise tags with the Rams. That's your biggest ticket item this year. He's one of the highest paid corners in the league. $17.5 million over 5 years, $45 million in overall guarantees, $20 million signing bonus, $34 fully guaranteed at signing. So you're going to need him to be more of a shutdown corner than Revis Island was in his second go-around with the Jets.
Yeah, and you talked about Trumaine Johnson, and obviously the Jets came in to free agency with one of the most caps, up there with teams who had the most cap space in the NFL. You mentioned that Trumaine Johnson deal, which was probably the Jets' biggest move, their splashiest signing, and you talk about how they need him to play as a top 10 corner when maybe he might not be that. You talk about potentially being an overpay, but I guess in today's NFL, nothing's really an overpay, I guess. But I wanted to get your thoughts. Do you think
that's
the Jets...
the going rate for a corner. If you got a good corner, the going rate's going to be $13, $14, $15 million right now. So if you wanted to land a good corner, you're going to pay what you pay. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And Trumaine Johnson is probably around the top 10 to 15 corners in the way that he's paid. I mean, if you're a really good corner that hits the open market, you're going to get paid a lot of money. So it's definitely understandable. But I wanted to get your thoughts. Do you think there's anybody the Jets necessarily overpaid for, or do you think Mike Riccadron and his crew did a good job of just staying home and giving guys their market value?
Well, the one which is kind of puzzling to me is Avery Williamson. He was a 2-down linebacker in Tennessee last year, so you guys are projecting him to be a 3-down linebacker. Last year, the free agent linebacker market was terrible for the most part. If you got paid, it was by your own team. I know Demario Davis is older, was in a second go-around with the Jets, played well last year, but the deals were comparable, and you chose to go with the younger guy who has more upside. But just based on how they played on the field last year, Davis was the better player, but he's older. Williamson's going to have to go back to being a 3-down linebacker, which he wasn't last year. Wesley Woodyard took that away from him in Tennessee, which to me was a little concerning. But that's $22 million over 3 years. It can max out at $24, but $16 is fully guaranteed at signing, so you're more or less stuck with him for 2 years if he doesn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, I get your point with the Avery Williamson thing. I mean, Kyle and I have talked about that. I mean, he was a 2-down linebacker in Tennessee, and as you mentioned, I mean, we chose him over Demario Davis, it sounds like. And Demario, had a very good year. Really, the number one thing Avery Williamson has going for him, besides his PFF grade, is his age. And I think that's definitely the impetus for the Jets pulling the trigger on that. But I mean, if he can't really fill that 3rd-down role, then the Jets don't really have a coverage linebacker. I mean, I know they signed Kevin Minter, so maybe they can get something out of him. But Darren Lee, that was expected to be his role, and it hasn't been necessarily something he's hit. He's gotten better at coverage as the time has gone on, but that's not necessarily his strength at this point. And again, you talk about can Williamson cover and can Williamson stay on the field during passing downs? That's definitely going to be something to watch during the season. Now, Joel, the other thing I noticed throughout the offseason and you talked about Demario Davis, but another Jets re-signing was Austin Seferian-Jenkins, or a potential re-signing that they didn't go through with, was Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who ended up going to Jacksonville. Now, some fans, including myself, really wanted ASJ back. We thought he was coming off a good year. He was on the rise. Yes, he was on the podcast, but he was on the rise. And, we felt like the Jets probably could have paid him the money that Jacksonville gave him. What are your thoughts on the Jets kind of hedging their bets and not really, paying a guy like Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who was on the up and up, pretty average money that he got with Jacksonville?
Yeah, he resurrected his career, put the troubles in Tampa behind him. So I thought that was a guy that you really should have paid, considering he didn't break the bank. It's not like you're talking Trey Burton money for a guy who's a less proven commodity. I think he probably could have paid him in the same range as Jacksonville did, but chose not to. So hopefully that's not one which comes back to haunt you, because when you're talking about a tight end signing a deal which averages $5 million a year, you really should have come out the box and offered him that, and maybe you would have gotten it done. So to me, that's one where you kind of dropped the ball.
Yeah, we're kind of used to that as Jets fans. We seem to hear that just about every offseason and every draft, so, nothing new. Talk about dropping the ball. You brought up Kirk Cousins a little earlier. I want to get your thoughts on the Jets' plan B of Josh McCown and Teddy Bridgewater. The report's saying that was the plan B. We don't know if that's the full and complete truth. Nobody's hand is on the Bible here, but what are your thoughts on it as their plan B?
Well, yeah, I'll call it plan C. I'm going to assume that Drew Brees was plan B, but he wasn't planning on going anywhere, so maybe he's playing B and a half. But Bridgewater's intriguing because but for the injury, Cousins, I don't know, maybe he's in New York because he keeps the starting job, and you got to assume, or maybe you can't assume, that he would have done what Case Keenum did. But he hadn't played football in 2 years. He was a late first-round pick for a reason. It's basically a low-risk proposition because only $500,000 guaranteed. So if he looks horrible in training camp or something doesn't work out, you can get rid of him, and it's not going to cost you much. But if he plays, the deal could be worth as much as $15 million if he ends up being your starter. McCown, he has value besides being on the field, that he's just a great locker room presence, and he can fill a mentorship role for the quarterback I'm assuming you're taking with the third overall pick. You didn't trade up, give up 2 second-round picks this year and 1 next year to take Saquon Barkley. So
well, we hope
he
not.
has value. He has value from that standpoint as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I really like Teddy as not only as a player but as an individual, just one of those character guys. And obviously we know what Josh McCown brings as a leader. As mentioned probably 100 times, there always seems to be that one guy the Jets signed, the leader in the locker room who's going to teach the young guy. Hopefully it works out this time. I want to talk about Mike Maccagnan's past. And like we said earlier, we tried to get you on in Season 1, would have talked about it then. At that time, we were signing Darrelle Revis, Buster Screen, Antonio Cromartie, depending on when. And, now obviously bringing in guys in the second like Jamal Adams and Tremaine Johnson, Marcus May. A little bit of a transition there. But what would you think of Mike's job overall? And, what do you think his biggest disappointments have been? What do you think his biggest accomplishments have been just in free agency?
Well, the biggest problem is the fact that you guys overachieved when Ryan Fitzpatrick was the starter the first year. Thought you guys were a little closer than you actually were, kind of reminds me of the Dolphins past couple of seasons. And then kept the core together, brought him back, and everything went south with that one. But they got to win because fortunately he did something with Bowles, which a lot of GMs don't do when it's pretty clear you're in a more or less rebuilding mode because you got rid of a bunch of vets, so everyone assumed it was you were tanking, but I think that's a testament to Bowles. You were more competitive than people initially thought last year, and he didn't hold the record against him, so I'll give him credit for that. But now they're both kind of getting on the hot seat that got to show some improvement, or maybe neither guy's back for 2019. But I wasn't all that crazy about some of the signings of the first year. But that was an overpayment for Revis. Cromartie was more of a nostalgia guy. It was kind of, to me, an overreaction to the John Idzik years.
Yeah, they weren't particularly great.
Yeah, and Joel, the other news that I guess I forgot to mention, it was pretty. It was already going to happen, but the other news that happened for the Jets today that I guess I forgot to mention was the Jets picked up Leonard Williams' fifth-year option. What are your thoughts on how Leonard Williams has lived up to his expectations? And then on the other side of that, what type of deal could the Jets be looking to pay him in a few years? I know the Jets right now don't have any big money allocated to any sort of quarterback. Hopefully they will in a few years, because that means the quarterback they draft is good. But right now the Jets, are just rolling with a lot of money right now and not many franchise players. But Leonard Williams looks to be a pretty solid and maybe even pretty good defensive lineman. What type of deal do you think they might have to be paying him in a few years, and then on top of that, just evaluate, how, if he was worth the number 6 overall pick they paid him, or they took him with?
Well, that was kind of a weird year for you guys because he wasn't supposed to be available, and it was kind of, Leonard Williams is here. It's not really a need, but he's the best player on the board. Let's take him. It's worked out because Muhammad Wilkerson decided to really quit playing football after he got paid, and Showed Richardson, he ended up trading him, so it was actually a good thing you drafted him. He hasn't quite lived up to his potential. He's been good at times, not great, not dominant. The option year, I'm assuming it's going to be the defensive end number, which is this year's transition tag, will be 14-2. If I'm the agent, I'm looking at that Muhammad Wilkerson deal, and I'm adjusting that upwards because by the time you have to pay him, the market for defensive linemen will change. It's going to change at some point this offseason. The bar will be raised through Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald, and a rising tide lifts all boats. So you're better off doing it sooner rather than later, because if he goes out and has a career year this year, heading into the option year, there's going to be infinitely more. And I don't think you really want to do what you did with Muhammad Wilkerson, have him play out the whole 5 years, franchise, and then get a deal done, because that normally doesn't work out from being able to plan optimally from a cap standpoint. And then the better the player plays, a good player plays, the more it's going to cost you in the long run generally.
Yeah, and in that question, I kind of mentioned that the Jets don't have any money allocated to a rookie quarterback. That might be changing, hopefully, in the next few years. As a cap guy, Joel, can you talk about the importance of building around the rookie quarterback? I mean, I think the one thing that we kind of the one negative to signing Kirk Cousins is that your quarterback is now going to take up $30 million of your cap space. But let's say the Jets go draft a guy like Josh Rosen or Baker Mayfield or whatnot. They're paying him on a rookie deal, and for the next 4 to 5 years, their top player, arguably, and of the most importance, their quarterback, is on a rookie deal for 4 to 5 years, and you have the chance to build your roster. Can you talk about the importance of just that in itself, that window that drafting a rookie quarterback and having him playing well provides you, and how it can lead to greater success, and how it can potentially lead the Jets back into the playoffs?
Oh, it gives you a huge opportunity to really increase the level of talent on the team, because you've got the most important position at a bargain basement rate. The 3rd overall pick, it's going to be roughly $30 million, $31 million over the 4 years, and the 5th-year option, by the time that rolls around, that might be $25 million by then. But if you got a quarterback like, we'll say, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, look at Philadelphia. They're able to afford a high-priced backup quarterback, which really came in handy this year because you had such a cheap starting quarterback, and they even had a ton of dead money for Sam Bradford and Chase Daniel this year. So it gives you a lot more flexibility, but you got to take advantage of it by actually making smart choices in free agency and doing a good job drafting. Otherwise, it's all for naught because you're wasting the window of opportunity when you have a quarterback at the lowest price he's ever going to be. So, provided the Jets hit on the quarterback, they're going to be able to jumpstart the franchise.
Yeah, definitely these next 4 to 5 years are going to be huge for the franchise. You mentioned, potentially if the Jets can hit on the quarterback. Joel, I wanted to get your thoughts on who you think that quarterback is going to be at number 3. Obviously, the Jets has a big trade-up. There's about 4 quarterbacks we're looking at. Darnold will probably be gone. Allen is not popular amongst Jets fans on Twitter. Obviously, there's Baker Mayfield, who's pretty polarizing himself. And then Josh Rosen seems to be the underlying favorite for most people if he's there. I just wanted to get your thoughts on who you think the Jets will end up taking at that 3rd spot.
Well, I'm going to assume quarterbacks go 1 and 2. So they go 1 and 2, then you've got the third quarterback in what's considered one of the best quarterback drafts in years. The guy I like the best out of all of them, you may end up getting Josh Rosen. I watched the USC-UCLA game, and if you watch the game, you saw the difference between who's more NFL ready. Rosen was more ready to play than Darnold. Darnold may have more upside. I don't like the fact that Darnold throws too many interceptions. I wouldn't touch Josh Allen with a 10-foot pole.
Good. Welcome to the show.
He's got physically, he's everything you want, got the strong arm. Brian Billick said something maybe a couple of months ago which stuck in my head. Don't get seduced by the physical attributes and start trying to rationalize a lack of accuracy, because that's what they did with Kyle Bowler, who ended up being a mistake in Baltimore. I read something on MMQB this week. Dan Orlowski, the quarterback, was talking about Josh Allen and how he locks on to a first receiver too much in college, and his pre-snap process, he didn't really understand what he was trying to do. That was enough for me, come from a former quarterback. I already wouldn't have wanted him, but that further cemented the views I already had, that not him. But Rosen, he may be an acquired taste because he's got some things which shouldn't be held against him, but are, and some of them are a little ridiculous. You want a player to be smart, but him being inquisitive, why is that a negative for him when Peyton Manning is the most inquisitive person you're ever going to have around? Aaron Rodgers won Celebrity Jeopardy, so he's smart. So I don't know why that's a negative for Rosen. And also the whole rich kid thing. To me, he doesn't need to play football. He could do other things. So I would look at that as more of a positive than anything else. You don't necessarily need to have him play from day one, because if Bridgewater is anything close to what he was before he got hurt, he could be your bridge quarterback. If he's that guy, I don't think McCown sees the field. McCown's just a very expensive mentor. And if and when Rosen is ready to take over, he does. So it could work out to be a very good situation where there isn't pressure to play him immediately. But he's the guy I'd take. I'd take him out of the four. Mayfield, super productive. People say he could be like another Drew Brees type guy, but I'm partial to Josh Rosen.
Yeah, and Joel, now we can be best friends, because Josh Rosen's been my top quarterback since the fall. I mean, if the Jets end up getting him, I'll be ecstatic. You mentioned, yes, some of the concerns that are floated out around him. I'm not as concerned about that as I am, let's say the turnovers for Sam Darnold, or even coming from a Big 12 offense for Baker Mayfield, or Josh Allen's accuracy concerns. I mean, I think each quarterback definitely has their glaring concerns. Josh Rosen's really aren't as big to me. Really, the only one that sticks out are the injuries.
But he tried to do too much because he had no running game and the defense was horrible at UCLA, so he was trying to do too much and forcing some throws that he probably wouldn't have if he knew he had a defense which was going to stop the opposition, and they wouldn't have been so reliant on his arm if they had any semblance of a running game. I think those are things which are more correctable than some of the other things. Because another guy that when you say Josh Allen, I think of is Jake Locker, who was a physical specimen that wasn't very accurate at Washington, and he didn't pan out.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I think Josh Allen is really every single NFL bust that I've seen. I mean, he has all the red flags. I mean, yes, does he have is he 6'5"? Does he have the huge arm? Does he have big hands? Yes, but can he
80 yards from his knees? Don't forget that one.
It's the Kyle Buller thing. I mean, if he's on his knees and from midfield, can he throw it from the goalpost? Sure. But if he's in a game, is he going to be able to make that clutch, 3rd and 7 throw over the middle where he has to thread the needle? I'm not so sure about that. Can he read defenses? I'm not so sure about that. Josh Rosen, I'm very confident in. And you mentioned, a scenario where he wouldn't have to start from day one. The thing I really like about Josh Rosen is I think he's the most ready from day one quarterback out of all of these quarterbacks. I think he's a guy that really could just slide in and play. And you could argue that's how you'll learn the best, is by actually playing. So if the Jets take Josh Rosen, I don't think it's guaranteed that he won't play. I mean, obviously Bowles seems to like to play, a guy like McCown or Bridgewater for whatever reason. But I would expect Josh Rosen to come in there and potentially be the Jets starting quarterback by week 1. Talking about the quarterback.
Oh, he's going to take his lumps if he is a starter, because I remember when Peyton Manning was a rookie, that first, I'd say, 2/3 of the year was kind of rough. And then the light bulb clicked on the last third quarter of the year, and it was everything took off after that. But you're going to have some growing pains if he starts from day one.
Yeah,
well, I'll say about that, and sorry I cut you off, Ben, I think we're comfortable with growing pains, as long as we have somebody to grow with. It's not like with Hackenberg, who we've had for 2 going on 3 years now, where we knew personally that he wasn't it. When you take a guy like Josh Rosen or even Baker Mayfield, and we can have growing pains with one of them and realize that there is a light at the end of this tunnel, I think we're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Now, if you start him from day one, is the current regime assured of a mulligan if things don't go well initially and it's not producing wins? Because they may have another motive if they think that they have to win this year. That suggests we're not putting them on the field immediately because we want to try to get off to a strong start with either Bridgewater or McCown. If that's factoring into the decision. If they know that no matter what happens this year, they're safe next year, then, hey, go ahead and start them.
Yeah, you could argue that might be a motive, as you said. And also it's like, if Bowles is afraid of his, of losing his job, why not, I guess? I would hope that Bowles would would just play the best quarterback and would do what was best for the team. But, theoretically he could just, have Bridgewater play or have McCown play and then, kind of go through the majority of the season that way and then play Josh Rosen at the very end or maybe not at all and say, look, this is the guy we picked. You have to let him on the field before you can really evaluate our job. I don't know if that's a scenario that would happen, but Joel, speaking of the quarterbacks, a few more questions for you. Look, obviously Mike McCavian's first year, he takes Bryce Petty. Mike McCavian's second year, he takes Christian Hackenberg. Didn't take one last year. This year, he's probably going to take another one. How do you see this quarterback room shaking out? Because obviously you have the Teddy Bridgewater signing, who I could see as a guy who starts games this year for the Jets or doesn't even make the roster. You have Josh McCown, who's a $10 million quarterback coach, but he could potentially be the starter, the backup, the third string. Who knows? So, Joel, how do you see this quarterback room shaking out by the time the Jets hit the field for week 1?
Well, I think your 3 quarterbacks are McCown because he's got intangible value if he's not on the field. Bridgewater, provided he shakes off the rust from 2 years and there aren't any ill effects from the knee injury, that gives him a roster spot. And the guy you take at 3, hopefully Rosen.
Yeah.
The Hackenberg mistake is over because you're not going to keep a 4th quarterback. You should try to do what Cleveland's done with Kevin Hogan and Cody Kessler. Find somebody to take him for a conditional pick if you can. And if Bill O'Brien doesn't want him because he had him at Penn State, then that would be concerning.
No, yeah, exactly. And I think Hackenberg it's conceivable you could possibly get something from him. I think Petty, you're just going to have to cut him. I don't really see anybody trading anything for Petty. But you're right, yeah, if Hogan is able to get some picks, Hackenberg, nobody's, technically seen him on the field, so nobody really knows how bad.
Well, that's a problem because you figure in 2 years, at some point, you're not a good team. He gets on the field. So if I'm another team, that's a red flag to me. It's like, is this guy so bad they couldn't even put him on the field when they weren't good?
Yeah, and obviously that's a red flag, and it's been a red flag for us as fans, but it could have, potentially do the Jets a favor in the sense of, is it a red flag, but is it less so of a red flag than if we were to actually see Hackenberg go out there and just completely suck? Potentially a team could trade a 7th just purely based on his potential. Like you said, a guy like Bill O'Brien, he's a guy who coached him in college, and he saw Hackenberg play well, so based off of his potential, maybe the Texans would trade a 7th or a 6th or something like that. But you're right. Obviously the Jets not playing their 2nd-round pick at all going into year 3 is, majorly concerning. Joel, a few more questions here. Next year, the Jets go into free agency, and they're looking like they're going to have again, arguably the most cap space in the league. It depends how a few things shake out. Is there anybody, and I know it's early, I know it's April of 2018, but around this time next year, March of 2019, is there anybody you could potentially see? I mean, I know you mentioned a few names like Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald that may hit the open market. There's a few guys like DeMarcus Lawrence and Ezekiel Anza who will, who are franchise tagged this last offseason and will either, get re-signed long-term by their teams or hit the market. Are there potential players, big-time players you could see hitting the market? Not necessarily for the Jets. I mean, obviously that's preferred, but just to give our listeners a bit of a preview as to what's in store for this next year. And I think next offseason is really going to be that year where you really see the Jets take that next step with the rookie quarterback and whatnot. But just to preview any sort of guys that you could see wiggling free.
Well, you can forget about the guys like Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, those guys hitting free agency because they're going to get new deals. They're going to get franchised. So those guys are never ever going to be available. Odell Beckham Jr., who knows what happens with him. Matt Ryan's going to get signed. Maybe if you don't have a running back, it's a Mark Ingram, a Jay Ajayi, someone like that. Who knows if Jarvis Landry signs long-term in Cleveland. He's on a franchise tag. I'd kind of be a little reluctant to pay him huge money from the standpoint that he's a possession guy. I don't know how you catch 112 balls and have 1,000 yards. I'd keep my eye on Stephon Diggs from Minnesota just because he's in a contract year. Minnesota's got a couple of guys in contract years. Eric Kendricks and also Anthony Barr as well. They probably can't sign everybody, so that'll be intriguing as well. We'll see if Geno Atkins hits the open market. DeMarcus Lawrence seems to be embracing the franchise tag, so that second franchise tag could be cost prohibitive. A guy I would watch that is kind of on the radar in Denver, Shaquille Barrett, edge rusher. Because you got Shane Ray, that was a first-round pick, who's been injured and opened the door for him. That'll be an interesting one as well. I think Ronald Darby will be free from a cornerback standpoint. In Philadelphia, they've got tremendous cap obligations over the next couple of years because they've got practically everyone signed. That's why they're pretty much capped out, but find ways through trades to make additional moves. But those are some of the guys to keep an eye on.
Joel, you mentioned Khalil Mack, and we've been hearing some things about the off-season workouts coming up and possibly I don't think he's going to make an appearance based off every report I've read, or I don't know if they're already reporting, but any way that with an upcoming contract coming up and Gruden seemed to be cutting their, not their best players, but talented players left and right, any way that we see Mack maybe go onto the trade block?
No, you're not getting rid of a guy who is that good. There's no way you do that. This is something which should have been expected. The agent, Joel Siegel, represented Justin Houston, Houston's contract year. He didn't show up for anything until training camp. The only reason he showed up for training camp is since he was a third-round pick, he needed the year of service for free agency. So he had to report early. Otherwise, no matter when he reported, he wouldn't get the accrued season. Mack has 4 accrued seasons. Doesn't matter when he reports. He's going to be a free agent anyway, unless they put a franchise tag on him. So, you knew 2 years ago when he was Defensive Player of the Year that ultimately you're going to have to pay him more than Von Miller. I don't know who's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback when it's all said and done, Mack or Donald, but the one that goes first, the other one's going to leapfrog the deal.
Yep.
And maybe there's a dance between the two of those that I don't want to go first because I'll let you do the heavy lifting and advance the ball. Maybe what they both need is Houston to do something outstanding for Jadeveon Clowney. When they can both go, we're better than this dude. He may have been the first pick, but we've been more productive, so that's our new floor.
Yeah, and you brought up deals, and these are going to be my personal last questions. And not necessarily just to the Jets, but what were your favorite and least favorite deals in this offseason?
Least favorite deal is very easy. Sammy Watkins. I don't understand how you pay a guy that can't stay healthy, did next to nothing with the Rams, guarantee him $30 million over 2 years, and when you have a quarterback that's an unproven commodity, you've got a 1,000-yard receiver, you've got a 1,000-yard tight end, you've got a dynamic running back. That's overkill. How is he going to live up to that contract? Because there's only one football. I think the only way he potentially lives up to the contract is the defense is so terrible. They're in a shootout every week, so they all get their touches. So that was easily my least favorite deal, hands down. That's like the no-brainer one. Jimmy Graham's another one that I wasn't too crazy about because I looked at him and I'm like, okay, you weren't exactly all that productive. I know people will say that from a scheme standpoint that they didn't know how to use you in Seattle, but you're 31 now. You're not the guy you were with the Saints when you were 27 and signed that contract. So I don't know about that one with Green Bay. So those are probably the two ones that I was like, okay. The one I really like is how Andrew Norwell was able to take advantage of everything. The guard market's been escalating. We saw the 2 years prior to him that a free agent guard set the market, Osemele and then Zeitler last year. So him going out and having a great contract year, that pretty much solidified to me that he was going to reshape the guard market, which he did.
Well, and I thought for sure the Sam Bradford one was going to be on your least favorite. Well, what were your thoughts on that? Was that just like a middle-of-the-pack one for you? It was kind of surprising.
Middle of the pack. I expected it to be like that because I figured he was going to get a deal which was going to be comparable to what he signed last time with Philly. What the smart thing Arizona did was they protected themselves. I've never seen a contract with such large per-game roster bonuses. In the first year, $5 million of per-game roster bonuses, that's divided by 16 to $5 million. So each game that he's on the active roster, he gets 1/16 of that. I've never seen per-game roster bonuses for a complete season above $2 million. So that was one that they kind of hedged their bets. So if he doesn't play, they do get some cap relief. I don't like they're signing up their backup quarterback that's probably going to have to play because you can't, at this point, count on Bradford to play 16 games. Mike Glennon, to me, is a coach killer. Go back to NC State. Tom O'Brien runs Russell Wilson out of town, goes with Mike Glennon. He ultimately ends up getting fired. What happens in Tampa? It leads to Jameis Winston being the first pick. You get fired. You go out and sign Mike Glennon for Chicago. He can't keep his job for a month. John Fox is gone. Coach killer.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, John Fox probably deserved to get fired regardless if Mike Glennon was there or not.
Now, yeah, that's true. That's true. But still, there's a pattern there. You got Mike Glennon, you're going to get fired.
I agree. I remember Jets fans clamoring for Mike Glennon at one point. What offseason was that then?
Oh, God. That was last year. Last year people wanted him.
I remember the Tyrod Taylor, the people who didn't like Tyrod. They were like, oh, yeah, go to Mike Glennon. He'll be a great fit here in New York. Like,
sometimes the best deal you do is the ones that you don't make.
Hey,
Exactly. Joel, two more questions for you, man. First, I just wanted to touch on this just because I saw this posted on Twitter, and as a Cap guy, I just wanted to get your thoughts. Obviously, there's a new CBA deal coming up in the next few years. Do you think that impacts any sort of contract? Somebody was saying basically that the Jets shouldn't really try to structure long-term deals because of this, and said they should build for the short term. I don't necessarily agree with that, but as a guy who I would probably qualify as an expert in NFL, in the NFL cap and whatnot, do you think that's a philosophy to go by?
Well, if you have the right players, you want to lock them up for as long as you can, because I got to assume that the next CBA is going to be more favorable to the players and less favorable to the team side, because I don't think the players can do much worse than this CBA. So maybe you do want to lock them in because you're not going to have the same benefits from a team that you would under the next CBA as you do this one. But that's just for the right players.
Yeah, and Joel, a little more fun of a question to end it. Obviously, it's April. Obviously, we have we're not even at the draft yet. We don't even know who the Jets' rookie quarterback is. But just because we have you here, I wanted to get your thoughts on how you think the Jets will end up doing this season. We've seen their free agency. It was probably not. The Jets didn't get Kirk Cousins, so that let a few fans down and whatnot. But they still moved up to 3. They still were able to get their corner and Tremaine Johnson. They still were able to get at the very worst, a very solid 2-down linebacker in Avery Williamson, Teddy Bridgewater as a capable backup, Isaiah Crowell, which I thought was one of my favorite signings, especially since they're trading 2 second-round picks. The list goes on of just kind of middle-of-the-pack guys like a Terrell Pryor and whatnot. I just wanted to get your thoughts. I mean, how do you see this shaking out for the Jets? The Jets have picked at 6. I mean, they'll be picking at 3 this year, but the Jets have landed at pick number 6 the last 3 of the last 4 years. They're kind of stuck in this cellar. Besides that one magical weird year with Fitzpatrick where they went 10-6. Just how do you see this all playing out?
Okay, it seems like past couple of years has been a mirage team in the division. You guys were the mirage team 2 years ago. The Dolphins, 2016. I'm calling the Bills the mirage team. They take a step backwards. Miami, I don't understand what they're trying to do. So it's really a one-team division. That basically New England wins another division title. You guys, I think, end up in second place by default. I'm not sure what that puts your record, 7-9, 8-8. But I think you're taking a couple of steps forward, and all depends on what you get out of your quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I happen to agree, and Kyle is an eternal pessimist, but I would probably imagine he probably agrees with what you're saying. I think
the schedule comes out until I become a complete pessimist.
Yeah, I don't really think the schedule should change too much about it, but I think that Joel, I agree with you. I think that's probably a fair assessment. I don't have super high expectations. I kind of compared it to the 2009 season where I guess the Jets actually ended up going pretty far that year, but they weren't really supposed to make the playoffs, and they somehow snuck in and were able to get to 9-7. But I think, you're looking at around an 8-8, just kind of an average year. But then hopefully 2019 is the year the Jets are able to take the next step. Joel, thank you so much for joining us and talking about the Jets free agency, the quarterbacks, and then I guess ultimately how the Jets will end up faring this year. Really quickly, just shout out your social media where our fans can read your work, follow you on Twitter and whatnot. Just because we really enjoyed having you on, and I'm sure our listeners feel the same way. So just shout out your social media.
Okay, I'm Corry Joel on Twitter, and you can find my work at cbssports.com. I have a regular column called An Agent's Take.
All right. Well, thank you, Joel.
Big fan of that. He had a great Lamar piece, by the way. I love the whole.
Oh, thank you.
The whole no agent thing, just going with his mom. It's an interesting approach. I think it will work out for Lamar in the end. I trust his talent.
Well, hopefully it doesn't end up costing him. If Mason Rudolph goes before him, you can definitively say it's a mistake. If he goes top 15, top 20, you won't be able to quantify it, even though people will probably draw the conclusion that he didn't need an agent.
Yeah, hey, those are most people, though.
We'll see. I guess Richard Sherman didn't have an agent, and he just got himself
Oh, don't get me started on that one. I wrote an article on what's wrong with that deal a couple of weeks ago.
Not a fan?
No, not at all. You're supposed to minimize your risk for your client as an agent. Has to do far too much in order to earn the money. It's a piece I did a couple of weeks ago, just breaking down the contract, why I don't like the incentives, how it's structured, and what could have been done differently. Just Google my name, Joel Corry, Richard Sherman. It'll come up. I think it's worth reading.
All right, I'll definitely check that out. As a Stanford grad, I would assume Sherman, would have been able to piece together a nice deal. But yeah, I saw that deal as well, and he's taking a gamble on himself, I guess. But Joel, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking Jets with us. We really enjoyed it, and hopefully we can have you back again sometime soon.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
It's been on, Joel.
All right, that was Joel Corry. Thank you again to him. Terrific guest, so thank you, Kyle, for organizing that one for us. He said some interesting things. I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was towards the beginning when he talked about Avery Williamson. Kyle, we obviously didn't react too much to it, but I wanted to get your thoughts on how he viewed the Avery Williamson thing, because I was kind of a fan of the deal. I understand that he was, a bit of a two-down linebacker.
Yeah.
Except, if our guy Joe Blewett, who's starting his own Turn on the Jets podcast, TOJ Film Room.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's
my
bad.
bad. I thought we just spoiled something. I was like, uh-oh.
He already has a Twitter. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
He's been doing some breakdowns of Williamson's coverage snaps, the ones that he's been able to get, and he actually has some nice plays. So I actually wasn't too angry about that. I actually thought they got him on a good deal. He's younger. I think he brings what you got with Demario Davis, but obviously Joel didn't see it the same way. He thought, you're losing a player like Demario Davis. You're getting a guy who's really just a two-down player. Kyle, what are your thoughts on that?
Based on everything I've seen from Avery Williamson, and most of it has been from Joe Blewett, I think he's capable of stepping up into the role. I'm not too worried about it. The deals between him and Demario Davis were very similar. Demario has a really cheap base salary this year, but he makes up for it the next year, and I think it was completely guaranteed, and then it's an out after 2 years. They're essentially the same contract, inception to the first year, and a couple dollars now and then. When I say a couple dollars, I mean a couple $100,000, but in the NFL, a couple dollars. Avery Williamson, the cheaper player who I think can come in and fill the role at a similar production level, I take that. I love Demario, but he's old. It's simple as that. Ben, you and I can confirm, it's good to be young, all right? Especially in the NFL. The younger you are, the more chances you have to get paid, and the more chances you will be productive. So I will take that off Avery Williamson.
Yeah, as far as it's good to be young thing, I guess when it comes to athletics, it is. 26, Avery Williamson is hitting his prime. This is exactly where you want him. So I actually was for it. I don't think it was his worst move. I really don't think Mac really had a bad move. I guess giving McCown $10 million, because I feel like you probably could have gotten him back for $5 million. I don't think he was. I understand the value McCown brings, but I view Bridgewater as a better backup, even if he's not. Even if you're getting the Bridgewater we saw last year, I'm confident in his skills being better than McCown. Let's not fall into the same thing that happened in 2015, or I guess 2016 with Ryan Fitzpatrick, where it's like, are Jets fans really expecting Josh McCown to be able to replicate the same level of play he produced last year? And let's not forget, the level of play he produced last year was not all pro level. It was okay, solid.
It was good.
It was mediocre to solid quarterback play. It was just
you gotta
in between.
Remember, we were coming off a year with Geno Smith and Ryan Fitzpatrick just basically dicking around the entire year.
Exactly. And a bit of Bryce Petty towards the end, and a bit of Bryce Petty towards the end of this year. I'm not trying to discredit McCown at all. He surpassed all of my expectations as a 39-year-old journeyman quarterback coming in.
And mine. I said he was the worst player on the roster at the beginning of last year, and he proved me wrong.
That's a bad take. And I understand he had some good games.
In hindsight, that was a bad take.
Most of your takes are bad. It's okay. But, if anybody watched the Denver game, I know he got hurt in the second quarter, but it's just like, he was a little sporadic. It wasn't like he was just some amazing all-pro that, he was, if he had a better team around him, we would have gone to the Super Bowl or whatnot. He was just an okay quarterback or whatnot. But anyways, are people expecting Josh McCown, let's say he starts, 10 games next year, are people expecting that same level of play? I don't know. He'll be 40 this year, 39, 40. I don't really expect that same level of play. I think you're going to see a bit of a fall off. Hopefully he's not starting 10 games next year. Hopefully you're seeing the rookie all 16 games.
Tank.
No, stop. Okay. I'm a firm believer in just playing the rookie. Because, I guess I'm not a fan of tanking, but I guess as Kyle puts it, it's like I'd rather lose with the rookie than win with McCown. You lose with the rookie, and hopefully he's playing okay. You talked about Peyton Manning not being necessarily an all-pro coming out immediately. He might make some mistakes or whatnot. Hopefully he's just showing signs of growth and whatnot. But that's the best way to learn. Yes, he'll learn some things. When a player has issues understanding a pro-style offense or how to read defenses, that's when it's generally a little better to let them sit. But Rosen's one of the few guys that's coming out that I'm not that worried about with that. It's more just, okay, throw him out there, let him get some game experience, game speed, facing NFL defenses and whatnot, getting chemistry with his receivers. Let him do that, and I think that's where you'll see the most growth. A guy like Josh Allen, you wouldn't want to do that with. Josh Allen would need to sit. A guy like Baker Mayfield even would probably need to sit, not as much as Josh Allen, but I think Mayfield probably would need to sit the first 4 to 6 games of the year. Anyways, but McCown would probably be my least favorite. I read a story about the Bills potentially lurking. It's like, I don't really think that Josh McCown would leave his, whatever this is, his 8th team and his, 25 kids up to Buffalo, New York. I think he would probably just keep them.
we should go to TLC show for Josh McCown. We got to come up with a title for that. What's his wife's name?
18 picks and counting? Oh, sorry. Okay. Anyways.
Oh, wow. Damn.
Anyways. Actually, I don't know how many interceptions.
All right, let's do a quick stalking of Josh McCown. See what. Josh McCown. Josh McCown family. Yeah. We gotta figure this out, right? I mean, if we're gonna make the joke, we gotta do it right.
He's got like 7 kids. Anyway,
he's got a lot.
I didn't feel like Buffalo. I didn't feel like it was a threat that he was gonna leave. So I guess my only qualm with any of McCagnon's contracts would be the McCown one. But I mean, it's not a big deal. The Jets have monopoly money, and they're gonna have monopoly money next year.
He was born on the 4th of July. Wow, that's cool.
Congratulations.
Born in Jacksonville, Tennessee.
Is he turning 39 or 40?
He's going to be turning 39.
Okay, so he'll be 39. But it's just like, I guess it's a 1-year deal, so it doesn't matter too much. That would be my only qualm with any max deals, and then the only one that I'm bummed he did make was the Tyrann Mathieu deal. And speaking of that, I know you're doing your Josh McCown search.
Yeah, his wife's name's Natalie.
Okay,
I love that name.
It's just creepy.
And he has 4 children. So Josh and Natalie. Damn.
He's played for more teams than he has kids. Jeez.
Damn. Wow.
Anyways.
And Josh McCown's never coming on this podcast, I guess.
Kyle, speaking of slot corner, we talked about Tyrann Mathieu. I
don't know. I don't know what type of segue that was, but go with it.
Well, yeah, I mentioned that was probably my least favorite that was probably my least favorite part of McCagnon's offseason was not going harder after Tyrann Mathieu. And it sounds like Tyrann just kind of followed his heart and actually took less money to go to Houston, so maybe it wasn't even McCagnon's fault.
Poor mistake on his part.
Whatever it is, yeah, I don't know why you would choose to go to Houston, but whatever whatever it was, the Jets are going to be trotting Buster Skrine out there in the slot. How confident are you in Skrine and, the secondary as a whole? You have Adams and May coming back, second-year safeties. Hopefully they stay healthy, and hopefully they can continue to build. May actually probably showed like he was further along, except Adams definitely flashed some incredible plays. And then, missed a few tackles here and there, and we knew that was coming. There's some growing pains. But hopefully they continue to build. Tremaine Johnson coming in on the big deal. Hopefully he can play as your number 1 corner and, the guy you expected. Claiborne coming back again. Stayed fairly healthy. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I believe it was the healthiest year of his career. Hopefully he can come back and play at the same level, but except now he'll be sliding to the number 2, where he'll be guarding the number 2 wide receiver on the opposing team, and I think that's just a much better situation for him. So I'm very confident in the front 4, I guess not the front 4, the back end. I'm very comfortable in the starting corners and on the outside and the starting safeties. I think you're not going to find many better secondaries than that. Where I'm a little nervous about is, and obviously there are some secondaries. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the Jets put themselves in a pretty good position here. Now, with my problem lies is in the slot, Buster Skrine. Kyle, how nervous are you for Buster Skrine this season? I mean, he was really up and down. You go to that Miami game down in Miami, it was maybe the worst performance I've seen from him in his entire career as a Jet. I mean, they literally could just throw it up, and whoever Buster Skrine, he's 5'8", so whoever Buster Skrine was trying to guard, I believe it was Jarvis Landry, was just getting touchdowns, was just getting 30-yard receptions. It was horrible to watch, and we blew a 14 lead because of it, because of that and John Morton. But then he flashed a bit towards the middle of the season. Right around when I started, I just said, this guy is not going to be in the team next year. He's just trash. But he probably played, a solid 6 games in a row or not, and then kind of,
Don't let Kyle Smith hear you say this. We'll have to scrub this from the episode.
What?
Did you just not hear any of that?
No, what'd you say?
I said that we're going to have to scrub this from the episode, and we can't let Kyle Smith hear it.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, I was just saying Skrine towards the end.
You get wrecked.
Yeah, I guess so. Skrine towards the end did not play that well. Anyways, Kyle, I wanted to get your thoughts on Buster Skrine and I guess the secondary as a whole and how your confidence level going into the 2018 season.
I'm pretty confident in the secondary. Buster Skrine, I don't think he'll make it past training camp. I think somebody else will fill his role. He didn't play well enough at all. I mean, he had a couple really nice games, but that was it. He didn't do it consistently. Hasn't done it consistently over his career, and it was probably the biggest mistake of Mike Maccagnan's GMing job so far in terms of contract, and that's including Rivas and Antonio Cromartie. So I think he'll be gone by probably the end of training camp because we have a lot of guys.
You don't think Buster Skrine's going to make the roster? I mean,
no,
who's playing that slot corner then?
I don't know. We'll find that out in training camp.
But you don't think Bowles is going to go with the guy he's had for 3 years? I mean, he's already...
Ben, there's this thing called divorce. I mean, people get separated all the time.
I know,
but how long you've been together.
But why wouldn't they have cut him now? I mean, if he's not going to be on the team, why wouldn't you cut him now, get that cap space, and then throw it at Tyrann Mathieu or throw it at anybody else?
We had the cap space for Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann decided not to join the team for a certain specific reason we don't know.
And so because they didn't get Tyrann, shouldn't that show you that, okay, that the Jets are going to roll with Buster? I mean, I don't understand what you gain from cutting Buster Skrine. I mean, the Jets have $30 million in cap space right now. I agree with you that he shouldn't be on the team beyond next year, but it's like, what do you gain? Like, what is that cap space going to be used for?
It's not necessarily a cap space thing. It's a thing that we get a better player.
Who's the better? I mean,
I don't know. We'll find that out in time.
Even if Buster Skrine's out. I know, but even if Buster Skrine's the fifth string corner, I mean, I don't understand what you're like. First of all, Buster Skrine, as much as I rag on him, he has his good, solid moments, and it should be noted that he's going back to his full-time slot position, which should help him out a bit.
Which did not do
Buster
well
Skrine,
for him at any point in his career.
It has at times. I'm not saying he's some dominant lockdown slot corner like some other people were saying in 2015. I'm just saying that his best moments come in the slot. I don't understand what you gain from cutting him. Like, if you're all about the youth movement and you're going to get a better player, regardless of who that is, because we've seen Justin Burris and Darryl Roberts the past 2 years, and I'm not sure they're better. But okay, let's say you draft a guy like Darius Phillips in the 4th round. Okay, well then why wouldn't you just play him and have Skrine as your 4th? I don't know. I don't understand what you make from that, since you're not really gaining anything on your cap. If you think that, do you think Justin Burris is more valuable than Buster Skrine? Do you think Rashard Robinson is more valuable than Buster Skrine for this year? I don't know if I agree with that. By the way, I'm the least. You can attest. I'm not a big Buster Skrine fan. I'm just saying. Yeah, if you're going to cut him... I feel like
you're the biggest Buster Skrine supporter that I know.
I mean, did you not hear Kyle Smith and I's whole argument?
Yeah, like Kyle Smith slapped you around for saying Buster Skrine was even remotely good.
No, okay, I was saying that he said... Okay, it's whatever. It's not even... But the whole argument was...
Here we go again.
The whole argument was that he said he was good, and he said he didn't.
All right, let's get to
I never said... Okay, anyways, whatever.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, we'll go to the callers next. We can get their thoughts on Buster Skrine and hit a lot of other callers. We're going to go to Rick first. Rick, you are on the line. How's it going, man?
Yeah, how's it going? I just came in. I just came in. I heard you guys talking about Buster Skrine. Yeah, I'm going to have to go with, there's no point of cutting him. On a simple fact is, here's another thing, too, is I do think first off, I think Todd Bowles kind of liked Buster Skrine for whatever reason to begin with. And then 2 is, I wouldn't be surprised, especially now the way the secondary's built now, that you'll probably see Buster Skrine playing better. Because I feel like with the way the secondary is built, it is going to help Buster Skrine the most. Because I feel like it will put him in position to play a lot better. Like, look at that the first year he came in and stuff like that. He played a little bit better than what I think he's actually able to, because the pieces around him made his job easier. And I feel like, again, this is another secondary that's going to make Buster Skrine's job a lot easier.
And Rick, I agree with you fully there. I mean, look, do I think Buster Skrine's a great player? No, I'd probably put him in the C- range as far as corners go. But it's like, are you really more confident putting a guy like Rashard Robinson, Justin Burris, Darryl Roberts there? Probably not. The only scenario I could really see him getting cut is, one, the Jets have to draft a corner with their third round or 4th round pick, and you go into training camp. Not only is that corner playing really well, all your other or not all of them, but at least a good amount of your young corners are playing well. Whether that be a guy like Jeremy Clark, who's really going to be kind of a rookie this year as he'll be healthy. Let's say in training camp he's really flashing, or maybe a guy from last year, Xavier Coleman, who wasn't drafted but was a undrafted free agent that we picked up, who played a bit in game.
You gotta shout out your own guy, don't you?
Yeah, he did go to my high school. I am a Xavier Coleman fan, but he played in game and then got hurt. And, all right, whatever. Anyways, but as far as like one of those guys has to play well, or Derek Jones or Rashard Robinson comes back and plays, whatever it is, if the Jets are very confident and want to keep as many of these young corners together as possible, then maybe I could see him getting cut. But besides that, we kind of know what Justin Burris is. We more or less know what Darryl Roberts is. We probably know what Rashard Robinson is. I mean, we know kind of what these guys are, so it's like, are you really going to cut a guy who's a C- for a guy who's a D? I don't know. It's just I don't think Buster Skrine's the future, but I don't think really any of these other young corners are at this moment in time. I mean, again, if the Jets draft a guy or any of those guys I listed could really have an uptick, and even if they are, why not keep Buster Skrine as your fourth, string corner? Morris Claiborne has missed more games over the past 4 years. I mean, it's just like I don't understand what you gain in cutting him. It's kind of an asinine argument, but Kyle's known for those. Rick, I wanted to get your thoughts on what are you most excited for this upcoming season outside of the rookie quarterback? Because obviously, if we ask that question, everybody's going to be talking about, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, whoever they pick. That's clearly the most exciting part, the most exciting thing going on with this team is that we're not going to be stuck with another year of Geno Smith, another year of Ryan Fitzpatrick, another year of Josh McCown. I mean, we might have Josh McCown for a bit this year, but you have a guy like Josh Rosen or Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold if he falls or whatnot. Outside of those guys, though, ignoring the quarterback, what are you most excited towards seeing this year?
You know what? I'll tell you something. I'm actually kind of really excited. I don't know if I would say necessarily the most excited, but I'm pretty excited to see. And it's something I feel like a lot of people, I don't think you'll hear a lot of people talk about. I want to see what this offense is going to really look like. Because, the whole thing is, there's a prevailing thought about how this offense is going to look like. They're thinking it's going to look mostly like a Charles Shanahan offense with a little bit of what we saw last year. But we can't say that for sure. Everybody's just making assumptions. Nobody really knows how this offense is going to look like, So I'm kind of excited to see how that works and stuff, because, especially looking at the moves they make this off season, you can figure certain things out. Like for instance, like I said, it was they're going to do a running back by committee. That's very obvious with the moves they made this season and stuff like that. So you may have different aspects. And then another thing too is, like I said, we don't have a superstar wide receiver, but we have a lot of good role playing receivers. So I feel like it's going to be interesting to see, especially, how Bates has been heralded for, being a really intelligent offensive mind. So that's one thing, too, is the offense, one thing that's going to be very key going forward during this season is how well Bates schemes up the offense. Because we already know it's not going to be won by star power. It's going to be won by everybody playing their role within the offense. So, like I said, I'm really looking forward to how this offense turns out this season coming up.
Yeah, Rick, I completely agree with you. There, I think, you mentioned a lot of great things there. Specifically, you talked about the running backs and that whole running back by committee. I mean, that's obviously something that the Jets have planned to do. I mean, I think the signing of Isaiah Crowell should have probably pointed that the Jets were going to dump one of those second-round picks, but it's conceivable the Jets could still take a running back in the draft. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously the Jets have Powell on the roster for the time being at least. they drafted Elijah McGuire in the 6th round last year, but he flashed at times. I mean, but you could make the argument outside of that one Jacksonville run, he didn't have too many big plays. I mean, he had a short yardage run in New Orleans for a touchdown and a 2-point conversion against Kansas City, but just kind of average play. The Jets brought in Thomas Rawls, who's a pretty good back when he's healthy, but that's a big if because he's injured, most of the games. And then Isaiah Crowell as well. Who are you? Is it in the realm of possibility? Do you think that the Jets could take a running back with their 3rd round pick or their 4th round pick? It's such a deep running back class, and it was really something that I wanted the Jets to go after with one of their 2nd round picks. Obviously, they don't have it anymore. But if a guy like Rashad Penny is there in the 4th, which I don't think he'll last that long, I think if the Jets wanted to get him, they'd have to take him in the 3rd. Do you think the Jets should pull the trigger, or do you think the Jets would say, look, we're content with our running backfield for now, and we'll pass on that? I wanted to get your thoughts on you mentioned the offense and you mentioned the running game. I just wanted to get your thoughts on if you think the Jets should go after any rookie running backs.
So personally, this is my opinion. This is just my own opinion. I was hoping and would love to see Jets draft a running back. Like I was salivating for this running back class. I think you have a lot of solid running back players. You know what I mean? Like it's deep, especially like you said. Even once you hit even if you get past the 4th or 5th round, you're gonna find at least a good role running back. You know what I mean? That can play a role really well. So I was kind of salivating. I'm like, oh, this is a great time to get a running back, a perfect time. So yeah, it was kind of almost slightly discouraging to see that they were, picking up all these running backs and stuff like that. But I mean, I like I said, I don't know for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they do just not, just go and not go pick one up and stuff like that, because they don't seem to ever really prioritize, drafting a running back so far from what it seems. But yeah, I would love to see it. Like I said, me personally, I would love to see that. You know what I mean? Just because this looks like such a solid running back class. And definitely though, if they were to, we know that's it. That's it for Powell. I definitely think that's the signal for them to drop Powell. Because with everything they got, and we know that I'm pretty sure they that running back they will draft is the official replacement. So I mean, yeah, that's my thoughts. I would love to, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised if they don't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you have needs like edge rusher and O-line that probably are more important. But again, as I said, if a guy like Penny's available in the 4th, I might take him and pair him with your young rookie quarterback. Speaking of that young rookie quarterback with a 3rd overall pick, who do you think it's going to be? And, I mean, obviously we ask this question to pretty much every caller. I mean, it's obviously some variation of Allen, Mayfield, or Rosen. So really quickly, I just wanted to get your thoughts on who you think it'll be or who you want it to be, and then I have a follow-up question for that.
That's a good question. You know what? I'm going to say Mayfield. Especially I've been thinking a lot about that too. I'm pretty sure you guys too. This racking your brain. Who are they going? I feel like it's Mayfield because of, especially let's go by timing. Let's kind of go by how everything kind of played out in the time frame. During the time they decided to go up for the 3rd overall pick, we knew that for sure Mayfield was going to be, from all the mockbacks that we've seen so far, that Mayfield was probably the earliest Mayfield was going to get picked was I think number 5, I think, up to that point. So for the general consensus, Mayfield was consistently at most the 3rd quarterback to go off the board. It was always mocked between the 3rd and 4th quarterback to go off the board. And generally who was being mocked was Rosen and Darnold going 1 and 2 consistently over Mayfield. So I feel like when they went up and they target where it's like, okay, we're most likely, there's a good chance that we're going to get the third best quarterback. I feel like consistently Mayfield was the third best quarterback. So I feel like they did have Mayfield in mind. And believe it or not, initially and for a long time, for my personal board, it was Rosen number 1, Mayfield number 2, Darnold number 3, Lamar number 4, and Allen number 5. But now I have to put Mayfield over Rosen. The more you sit down and go through the details, the more I go through the details of how all these players go, I feel Mayfield is actually, I feel like the best prospect when you go through the details.
Yeah, and that actually kind of fits well into what I was going to say because, I'm in the boat that if Rosen's available, I'm taking him. Even if Darnold's available, even if Mayfield's available, if Allen's available, no brainer, of course. But, if Rosen's there, I'm taking him. But you're not alone in that. A lot of people are on board with just really taking Mayfield over anybody. I mean, some are, if Darnold's available. But, a lot of the latest mock drafts that we're seeing, so let's just say Darnold goes 1 to Cleveland, although that doesn't necessarily sound like a sure thing. But let's say he's off the board. And you answered your own question, but a lot of Jets fans, this is kind of a question to them, of would they be upset if the Jets take Baker Mayfield over Josh Rosen at 3? I know you wouldn't necessarily, doesn't sound like you'll be upset about that. One of our good friends who will be on the show and in no time, Scott Mason, would definitely not be upset with that because Baker Mayfield's his favorite quarterback. Kyle, I don't know necessarily how you feel. I mean, obviously, look, if the Jets land either Baker Mayfield or Josh Rosen, Jets fans, for the most part, are going to be very happy. We did it. We got one of the guys we wanted. Let's just see how it works. We didn't get Allen. We got the rookie quarterback. We don't have to watch McCown. I get it. But I just wanted to get a sense on, and Kyle, I guess I'll throw it to you since you really haven't chimed in here. How would you feel if the Jets took a guy like Mayfield over Rosen when Rosen is generally viewed as the better prospect? I think he's the better prospect, although I like Baker Mayfield as a prospect. Kyle, what do you think about it?
Rosen's my number 1 quarterback. Mayfield's number 2. I love Mayfield as an individual. I think he has that swagger that hard to come by. You look at guys like Odell Beckham Jr., Jamal Adams, Marquette King, dudes of that nature who just naturally have the personality for the camera and have the talent to back it up. That's a rare thing in the NFL. And in the New York market, if you can find yourself a quarterback who is going to produce at a high level for multiple years, hopefully, and then have a great personality on top of it, I'm 100% fine with that. I love Baker. Josh Rosen, I think he's a better prospect mechanically. He'll probably end up having a better career individually. I don't know if he'll have a better career as a teammate and, wins and stuff like that. But I think Josh Rosen would be the better quarterback. I think Baker Mayfield will be the more successful in team endeavors, if you know what I mean. Like, Phillip Rivers is a better quarterback than Eli Manning. But Eli Manning has had more accomplishments and
Super Bowl.
I don't want to say Super Bowls because I don't want to put that on anybody's shoulders as a quarterback.
He's more well known, I guess. I mean, clutch moments, and he's going to go to the Hall of Fame whether you think he deserves it or not.
Oh, he doesn't deserve it, but he will.
May I just chime in for a second?
Good.
See, I just want to say this, chime in for a second. See, that's what I initially thought of when I thought about Rosen, but see, there's a specific reason why I chose Baker Mayfield, especially I feel like Mayfield has to be number 1 on the Jets boards in particular because fit-wise. Because here's the thing with Rosen and stuff like that. When you pick Rosen, you're going to have to significantly invest in the line because you got to make sure he doesn't take hits. We already know he has a concern with hits. So that means you have to make sure, whether he ends up or not, but you have to put in that investment just in case. With Mayfield, you don't have that durability problem. And not only that, too, scheme-wise. You can scheme with Mayfield better in a way to avoid hits. You understand what I mean? Like bootlegs and stuff like that to keep the defense off balance. So it will minimize his chances of Mayfield getting hit. You can't scheme as well with Rosen, like with boots and stuff like that, because he doesn't play in the. If you've seen his style play, he's not the type to run as much and stuff like that. It's rare, you know what I mean? So that's kind of why I had to give Mayfield the edge, because especially and particularly for the Jets, it's a better fit.
Yeah, to the point about the hits, it's the NFL. I mean, I completely understand the concern with concussions, and that should be a red flag if you're a team. And if I was the doctors of the team, he came in for that private physical and the workout, if things weren't great, it's a red flag for sure. But I got into an argument with somebody recently, in fact it was today, about Andrew Luck, on how if he was on another team, say particularly the Jets, he would still have a great career. Not to say that he won't in the future, but the injuries obviously have hindered him. In the NFL, things are going to happen. I don't care how great your offensive line is. You will get hit. You will take more than 15 sacks a year, and you will at one point run into the open field and probably take a hit from a guy that is 3 times your size and making 3 times less than what you are. It happens in the NFL. Concussions are a problem amongst every player in the NFL. Josh Rosen didn't get a concussion after he changed his helmet. So, well, at least a reported concussion. Players probably get a concussion almost every game, probably every 2, if we're being for real. But
no, not every game, Kyle.
Skill position players and probably safeties and linebackers.
Okay, that's just a guess from somebody who's literally never played professional football.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing about
that. Can
that.
you bring on professional football player to bring it on, though?
Yeah, but here's the thing about that, though. We're talking about, okay, when you're potentially drafting a prospect, right? You still have to prepare for when you get that prospect. You understand me? You're still going to have to adjust. And like I said, with Rosen, the thing is, yes, everybody gets that. But listen, this is your franchise quarterback. So when you draft this person and let's say they have a particular red flag, you have to have something installed already with your organization or the team built or something like that to minimize that particular risk. You get what I'm saying? And as far as I've seen, I don't see anything that Jets have to minimize Rosen risk. You understand me? Versus Mayfield. I feel like the team is set up more so for Mayfield versus Rosen. Because with Mayfield, like probably one of the I feel like the crux of him, like the thing that a team is going to say, okay, I think this is really where his only downfall really comes in, is maybe his maturity off the field type of issues. But they got Josh back. So it's like he could be a mentor and be like, hey, listen, I know how you feel. I feel the same way. But listen, this is how, you go forward and stuff like that. You understand what I mean? Like with Rosen, again, like, look, our offensive line is better, but it's definitely not guaranteed. It's still far from a guaranteed that they'll be able to protect him well enough where he won't take those hits and he won't have that risk right there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, that's really the biggest, knock on Rosen is, can he stay healthy?
Also that he's a rich white kid from the suburbs who apparently can do anything else.
Yeah, no. See, like I said, that's as you notice, I didn't bring those up because, like I said, I'm talking about in relating to the team and ensuring the success of that prospect. Do you have what it takes to ensure that particular prospect that you draft succeed? And that's what I'm talking about. Like I said, with Mayfield, I feel like they have more of a setup for him to succeed over Rosen.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I think that, and you could argue, the same thing for Rosen, but I think Baker Mayfield really fits well into what Jeremy Bates is expected to try to do with that West Coast kind of short passing off. I mean, I think that's something that Mayfield will thrive in, is just, play action. He might be rolling out a bit, but it's, intermediate short throws, and it's just quick timing routes. And I think that's an offense that Mayfield is going to thrive in. A guy like Josh Allen, that's really not his offense. I'm not really sure what his offense is. But
let's not even put him in the conversation right now. I'm not even going to bother with him. Because I really don't think the Jets are going to draft him, because there's simply it comes down to one word: luxury. Mike McCagnon doesn't have the luxury to draft Allen. Even if he loves him, he don't have the luxury, because everybody who likes Josh Allen always says this one precursor: he has to sit. He has to sit.
Yeah, we're not.
I feel like Mike McCagnon has to draft somebody that has a very high possibility of playing early. You understand? While Josh, I think at best, you're going to have to wait until, best case scenario, the very end of the season. That's the best possible case, but most likely a whole season sitting out. And I don't think Mike McCagnon has that luxury where it's like, it looks like we're going to have to sit, versus, like, let's say Mayfield Rosen. I feel like by the end of the preseason, everybody's like, so can we start him now? Can we start him now? Like that. I feel like those two are going to give
Jets
that impression by the end of the preseason.
I can't believe it.
Huh?
Jets fans being impatient? I can't believe it.
Yeah. But like, they're going to give the fan base a reason to be impatient, versus like Josh Allen. Like, he's the guy where it's like, we probably need to keep him on the bench and stuff like that by the end of preseason. You get what I'm saying? So I don't feel like he's a luxury. If it was like the draft before, like last year's draft, maybe he can get away with it. But I think at this point, with so much pressure going on him, I think he knows better that he just can't afford to draft him this, even though he likes him. And then, like you say, even with base system too, like, he's not that good of a system fit with base system.
Yeah.
If anything, he's the opposite. You actually have to scheme the opposite for him.
Exactly. I mean, you can't rely on his accuracy. I mean, it's just, I agree with you. And, the thing that scares me is, well, I'll say this first. As far as all the reports you've read the past few weeks and the ones you'll read for the next, 2 weeks or whatnot, I don't put much stock into many of them. It's just smokescreen season, and to the fact that
I didn't know you were dropping seasons on us now, Ben.
Oh, yes, I am, I guess. But if it was leaked that Josh Allen is the Jets, if it was leaked that Josh Allen is the Jets, number one quarterback, or if it is kind of right now where he's not really being brought up, it's the same thing. I'm still scared he's on the board. I agree with you. I find it hard to believe. And look, based off Todd Bowles' quotes about how he values accuracy and whatnot, based off of Chris Johnson's quote is that he's 100% sure that Jets fans are going to be super excited about this pick. Whether it be that your point about, are Jets fans or, are the Jets brass really going to be that patient with McCagnon for Allen to sit, whether he's another project like Hackam, all this stuff, so I agree. I find it hard to believe that McCagnon would, roll the dice on a guy like Allen, because I really think the only chance he has to succeed is if he lands in a place like New England, then where he can really sit behind a guy like Tom Brady for 2 or 3 years, get under that Belichick system and whatnot. Speaking of New England, not to sidetrack, it sounds like they have a strong interest in Lamar Jackson, which I would really hate, because I like Lamar Jackson, and putting Lamar in New England just really sucks. Just please, football gods, let him take a Mason.
Ben just went full Benedict on us right there with the British accent. Please, all the gods.
I'm actually Irish, Kyle. Thank you very much.
Okay, Benedict is a British name, and you can't argue that. And that was a British accent.
Lexington is literally a town in Ireland.
I don't care about your last name. I care about Benedict. That is the British name there.
Obviously, should be the other. Okay. Anyways,
what was hard about that? You didn't have to argue that.
What is hard about to understand?
Anyway, let me go ahead and interject with another point about Josh Allen too. Something I think that's almost a little bit overlooked too is if they were to even draft him, he's actually set up for failure because here's the thing. Another thing that I don't think nobody ever even mentions: Josh McCown, an accurate passer. Teddy Bridgewater, an accurate passer. So you're going to put a kid who's not known for his accuracy versus two guys who are known for the accuracy. That seems like a setup for failure too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it's like I think Josh Allen, if he comes to New York, he's in the worst position to succeed. I think Rosen is in the best. Mayfield is 1B. I mean, he's up there as well, and same with Darnold. But you put in Allen, you're right. I mean, it's really going to be tough for him to actually succeed. The only point I was getting to, and then Kyle and I got sidetracked, was kind of a point Joel Corry mentioned. It's like theoretically, McKagan could say, and it's obvious McKagan has a type. If you drafted Hackenberg, you could argue Petty kind of fits into the same mold as I guess we're going to lump Allen into. They're a little different, and obviously Allen has a higher ceiling and is a better prospect than both of them. But let's say McKagan's saying, look, I love Allen. Allen is my type of quarterback. I want to take Allen. I moved up. The other thing Allen gets me is he buys me time. And I know you were saying, and I agree, that it's like, well, are Jets fans really going to be able to sit with a rookie quarterback not, starting an entire year? Look, he went out. He re-signed Josh McCown. He brought back his mentor. He brought back his starter from last year. He goes out and sends Teddy Bridgewater, a young guy who can actually still inspire some hope in this fan base while he's able to draft his favorite quarterback. And that favorite quarterback might be Josh Allen. It also might mean, look, hey, Chris Johnson, you want to fire me because the team went 6-10 again, or whatever they go. It's like, look, my quarterback hasn't hit the field yet. This is, it buys him another year. I would hope, and as I said to Joe, I would hope McKagan doesn't draft based off of how, his job leverage. And I would hope that's why the Jets gave him an extension to say, look, just take the guy that's going to, get us to win games. But the fact that Allen kind of fits the mold that McKagan likes, you maybe use the Bridgewater signing as leverage towards them, trying to take a guy that wouldn't have to start immediately. Although you could argue Mayfield probably shouldn't start immediately. But then obviously just could it buy him time? That's the only thing that scares me about Allen. We were not really going to know until the draft night, but I agree with you. I think it's hard to admit to imagine after just failing miserably on Hackenberg that he'd go down that route again. Look, you traded up to 3. You want to go get the guy. Go get Rosen. Go get Mayfield. Go get Darnold. Rick, it's been awesome having you on the show. Really quickly, shout out. You get.
I go.
Yeah.
I just want to add another little thought for you guys too. Goes back to scheme too, and it actually goes back to what you were saying before. There's actually been something I thought about that may be that we could have been misconceiving McKagan this whole entire time. Is it may not be the reason he drafted Petty and Hackenberg may not actually have been the reason that it's his type. It could have actually been scheme. If you go back, Gailey's quarterbacks are actually Petty and Hackenberg. And the scheme we changed over, and I feel like this is why we saw Petty and Hackenberg totally fell on their face this year, because this is not a scheme that was fit for them. Like I said, Gailey, if you go back and you look at how Gailey's scheme worked and like how Morton's scheme is, they're actually opposites. And if you even go back to the preseason with Petty, if you watch, Petty was actually a lot better in Gailey's scheme than Morton's scheme. So it's possible that he was actually drafting according to what the current scheme was. I'll just leave you with that. Just food for thought.
I like it. I think that's a good place to end. Rick, it was really nice having you on the show. Give out your social media so our listeners can give you a follow.
My Twitter is RageRHP. If you guys want to hit up, I'm off and on a lot, but I'll be on sometimes.
All right, Rick, awesome to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us, and let's hope you're right about some of your points. Let's hope they stay away from Allen.
Yeah, all right.
See you, man. Thank you.
All right.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get to Tyler. Tyler, you're on the line. How you doing, man?
How you doing, Ben? Kyle, what's up?
We're doing well.
For a second, I was about to be offended.
No, Tyler's called in enough. He knows the names. Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the draft. Tyler, you excited for this third overall pick? You were tweeting us pics or gifts of Baker Mayfield. Is that your guy?
I'm fine with either or. As long as we protect him, I'll be fine.
And why do you prefer a guy like Baker Mayfield? I mean, like what you said. I mean, you're fine with either or, but you were tweeting us a lot of gifs of Baker, either grabbing his nuts or planting the Ohio State flag.
Ben.
Oklahoma flag on the Ohio State. Well,
Testicles.
I mean, sorry. Thank you. Okay. Well, Tyler, why do you prefer a guy like Baker?
Oh, there's positives and negatives. I'll start with the positives. I love the swagger. I like his enthusiasm.
Okay.
And, yeah.
You name two things that don't matter when it comes to football, like production-wise.
Oh, boy.
I mean, I love him, too. I love him, too.
Out here swinging.
I love him, too.
Okay.
But I care more about accuracy and
Yeah,
understanding defenses. And I love Baker.
Leadership.
I think he can do. Yes.
Leadership, yep.
Rocket ship.
All right. Well, yeah, and Tyler, I mean, I agree with you. I think I'll be fine with either Rosen or Mayfield. Right now, I prefer Rosen, but look, as long as they don't pick a guy like Allen, I'll be fine with it. And Tyler, what are your thoughts on Allen?
Oh my God! If we dropped Allen, oh man.
All right.
If I see him at 19, I will throw my PlayStation 4 controller out the window.
Oh man, I mean, I'll throw my life out the window. So it was really at risk here.
All right, Tyler. Last sort of topic with you. We kind of wanted to go over, unless you have a topic you'd like to talk with us about. I wanted to talk about Leonard Williams, who was in the news today, just because the Jets picked up his fifth-year option, which was pretty standard procedure. It was expected, and as they should have. And Kyle, we've gone back and forth about this. We can talk about this with Scott when he comes on. But Tyler, I wanted to get your thoughts on: do you think Leonard Williams has hit his ceiling? Look, there's a lot of debate that can go on with
Hater.
No. You should.
We just need a Leonard Williams interception within the next month.
You should wait. What Kyle's referring to is during the New Orleans Saints game. I was like, where is Leonard Williams? And then he gets
and then he got an interception 2 plays later.
I'm not blind to the fact that if Leonard Williams had competent.
Have you seen the girls you pick?
Oh my God. At least okay. First of all,
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave after that one. I'm gonna leave.
First of all, I think you should, Kyle. I'm not going to subject any of my past girlfriends to the Twitter of the Jet Take, but let's compare and contrast here, Kyle. Anyways, referring to Leonard Williams, Kyle's still trying to rebound from that. I'm trying to find out where the frick I was talking about. Okay, yes, I'm aware. If Leonard Williams had a solid pass rusher outside linebacker, if Leonard Williams had a dominant Muhammad Wilkerson next to him, if Leonard Williams was able to have any sort of other pass rush on the front seven besides him, would he be doing better statistically? Yes. And I will also say, I don't think Leonard Williams is a bad player. I'd go as far he's between the solid to very good range. I mean, you look at hurries, a stat that doesn't really show up. I mean, he's up there at the top of the league. He's consistently getting after it. As far as run-stopping defensive end, which 3-4 defensive ends are mainly run stoppers, not really pass rushers, he's doing that. So really the only thing he's lacking is just providing more of a consistent pass rush, if that makes any sense. Just getting, it's not all about sacks, but at least just putting up a little bit more than he has, penetrating the backfield more than he has, because he hasn't really been able to get in the backfield, whether that's pass or runs. And a lot of his hurries come later in the count. When the quarterback has the ball for 4 or 5 seconds.
Opposite of Rick Pitino.
Oh wow. Anyways, I just wanted to get your thoughts on: do you think this is the best version of Leonard Williams that the Jets are going to get, or do you think he hasn't hit it yet? And kind of to follow that, what is the ceiling of Leonard Williams? When he was drafted, was it unfair for people to compare him to Reggie White, call him the best player in the class, and Richard Seymour, and throw all these lofty expectations? Probably. And right now, he's just a borderline Pro Bowl defensive. He's a borderline Pro Bowl defensive end, and that's a very good thing for the Jets. But is he their star? Is he their franchise player? Is he their anchor? Is he their J.J. Watt or Aaron Donald? It doesn't look like he'll ever be that. That's my question. Because I'm not doubting.
Hall of Famers, call him yourself.
I mean, I think you can't call Aaron Donald a Hall of Famer yet, Kyle. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yes, Kyle, think about it. I had somebody tell me right after the 2009 season that Chris Johnson was a guaranteed Hall of Famer. Keep in mind, I was 9 years old because he'd already run for 2,000 yards. He was coming off 3 great seasons. I mean, what are you talking about? And there's no way that he can.
Are you talking about?
Go. Chris Johnson, not the owner. the running back.
CJ2K.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is CJ2K going to the Hall of Fame? No. So, do I think Aaron Donald, if he continues at this pace, will be a Hall of Famer? Sure. But right now, you can't call him a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Anyways, my point was, what is the ceiling of Leonard Williams? Yes, he had, but that's 4, Kyle. Give him 8, and then we'll talk.
Okay, if he gets shot, I'll put him in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Anyways, look at Sean Taylor. I'm talking about. Well, I don't want to.
Should be a Hall of Famer just out of respect.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, good players need to do.
Ben, you picked the worst possible person for that one.
No, that was my point.
We have no defense.
No, that was my point. Is that a guy who was playing at a very good level? If he was able to play for a decade, a little over a decade. I mean, maybe he'd be a Hall. Anyways, my point is that you need a little larger sample size than Aaron Donald. But that wasn't the question. My question is, Kyle, I'll start with you. Tyler, we'll go to you. What is Leonard Williams' ceiling? Have we seen it? Is it to come? And if it is to come, what is it? Are we getting the Reggie White? Are we getting Richard Seymour? Are we getting, Calais Campbell? I mean, what level is prime Leonard Williams? If the Jets are able to get a guy opposite him that's consistently playing well, if the Jets are able to get a outside linebacker that's getting pressure, what version of Leonard Williams are we seeing? Kyle, I'll start with you.
I think he has a much higher ceiling than what he's shown so far. I think he really has, and I hate doing this because it's a double standard for me for a lot of players, but I do think Leonard Williams has been held back by terrible individuals around him. Steve McClendon has been good, but not enough to take away from what teams are scheming against Leonard Williams. It is hard to be great when you are specifically schemed against by head coaches and offensive coordinators throughout the league, whether it be double teams, whether it be chips off the line, whether it be specific stunts that the offensive line pulls, whether it be an extra block from the running back when he's going out for a route. Everything they do is to stop Leonard Williams most of the time on the Jets defense, at least in the front 7, because there's no other viable threat. So it's hard to produce when they do that, and then he still produces at a good level. The eye may not catch everything, but Leonard Williams is the biggest contributor on that defensive line, and definitely maybe DeMario Davis last year, because he did get a lot of tackles for us. But definitely on the defensive line, he's the best contributor, and he's only going to improve, I still think. Just put even a decent player opposite side of him who can just take away somebody that they have to even look at. And Leonard Williams will be a much better player than what he was last year. And he was still a really good player last year.
Tyler, your thoughts?
You're talking about Leonard Williams picking up a 5th-year option, Ben?
We're talking about what his ceiling is.
His ceiling is very high. I like him. He is a beast.
All right. Well, Tyler, thank you for calling in, man. Ben,
what's that word that you used last week? How'd you say it?
Analyzer.
Yeah, analyzer.
Tyler, thank you for calling in, man. Really quickly, give it your social media.
Of course, you guys can follow me. If you guys are listening, you guys can follow me at TJTank896 on Twitter. And yeah, I'm not gonna give out my Instagram today. Thank you guys for having me on. I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
All right, that was Tyler. We're going to go ahead and move just right to our next caller, one of our favorites. And
Keep running.
Is he a caller or is he just the inaugural third
He's your
host?
dad. So.
Okay. No, he's not, but is third host for the last 30 minutes, I guess. I mean, is that his new name? It's just he always
We're
calls
doing 30 more minutes?
20. I don't know, Kyle, whatever
18
it is.
at the most.
All right. Third host for the last 18 minutes, Mr.
Yep.
Scott Mason from the Play Like a Jet podcast. Well, 5 of this is going to be Scott Mason plugs. So.
Oh, damn it. I didn't count that in. All right, 23.
He's a master plugger. But, anyways.
Spit out my water.
Scott Mason, how's it going, man?
I'll tell you what, you guys can say whatever you want to about me as long as you don't besmirch my good name the way Dalvin Astario did earlier today on another podcast.
Oh, no.
What did DA do?
Dalvin, bless his heart, was going through and doing a good thing. He was plugging my quarterback series, but in doing so, he said that I was profiling my, quote, top 4 quarterbacks because I think Josh Allen is better than Lamar Jackson, which is not true. As you guys know, I believe Lamar Jackson is better. The only reason I am profiling those 4 quarterbacks is because I live in the real world where the Jets did not trade up to number 3 for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, you're doing the 4 that I mean, there's really only 4 guys it could be for the Jets. It's either Darnold, Rosen, Mayfield, Allen. I understand that. So it's a duo.
Right. So I was busting Dalvin's chops at that. I said, dude, thanks for plugging the series, but how dare you besmirch my good name and say that I'm a Josh Allen fan?
Really quickly, I mean, you bring up an interesting point. I think we might be somewhat in agreement. I know Scott and I might have some different, but Kyle, you started to say yours a bit, and I've had mine for. I want to get our top 5 quarterback rankings. I want to see how in line we are with each other. Just really quickly, not don't take up too much time. I'll give mine right now.
Scott.
Right now, I have Rosen, Mayfield, Darnold, Jackson, Allen. Kyle, what's your order?
Rosen, Mayfield, Darnold, Jackson, Allen.
So for the first time in the Jet Take history, Kyle and I have agreed.
Yeah.
And agreed on our quarterback rankings for the draft, which, if you watched any of last year's draft coverage, could not be more different. I was a big fan of Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Kaiser. Kyle, not so much. Kyle was a big fan of Mitch Trubisky and Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll
see.
I think I got you there.
First of all,
we're going to find out. We're going to find out.
Deshaun Watson, when healthy, was better than all the guys, so I have the best one.
When healthy, though, which was my biggest concern for him.
Well, we also don't know about Patrick Mahomes yet. We don't know what he's going to be yet.
Yeah,
I don't know. All I know is that he's
Mitch Trubisky. I'll say this: Mitch Trubisky looks like a solid starter, average guy. Deshaun Watson, when healthy, was the best. Deshaun Kaiser was thrown into an 0-16 Cleveland Browns team. I still believe in Kaiser. I said he needs to sit behind a good.
Hey,
quarterback
Ben,
with.
You remember last time somebody put blind faith into a Kaiser? Didn't work out too well. That may have been the best joke I've ever made in my life, right there.
It was like okay. It was like.
That was historical.
6 out of 10. It was
that was historical. That was funny.
But, okay.
That was accurate.
But I didn't have complete blind faith. I said that Kaiser needs to go to a place like New England. Obviously, I didn't use New England because
Austria.
Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't there.
No.
Okay. Back off,
wow.
buddy. Anyways,
You enjoyed it.
Scott's somewhat enjoying it. Anyways, no, Kaiser, I still believe in Kaiser. I think Green Bay will be good for him. He'll sit behind Rodgers for a bit, and if Rodgers was to go down again, I'm telling you, I have a feeling about Kaiser. I still believe in him.
I think he's a low risk, high reward move for Green Bay because they didn't really give up much. They gave up a disposable part, and if you think about it this way. If Kaiser develops into something, Aaron Rodgers is 34. He gets hurt quite a bit. And, it's never a bad thing to have somebody that you can throw in there. And also, even if they just develop him into something and he becomes trade bait, it's not the worst thing in the world to have somebody like that who's young and has some upside.
Yeah, and, I don't need to say anything. He flashed a lot with Cleveland last year. The problem was just the turnovers. He was really just erratic. But he
looked a lot like Geno Smith last year. To be honest,
with a lot of Geno Smith. I mean, he would have some terrific play and then some boneheaded interception. So I'm just saying, give him some time on the bench. He's young. Maybe he'll pull an Andre Ingram and come back when he's 32 and be a terrific quarterback.
Well, listen, you guys saw what happened Geno's rookie year. There were games where he looked like he was going to put it all together, and then there were games where he just looked lost. And so we'll see with Kaiser, but the one thing that you said, Ben, is that he's at least in a good spot now. So if he's going to turn into anything, you would think that it would happen there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Scott, let's get your top 5 since we didn't get yours so far.
All right, so my top 5 is kind of based on not so much who I think is the best right now, and it's more based on who I think will be the best 3 years from now. So I actually am with Joe Malfa on this. I know I'm in the minority. I have Darnold number 1. Very close with Mayfield. I have Mayfield number 2, who I also have very close with Rosen. I think all 3 of them are very close. I think, we've gone through this. I think Rosen is the best of the 3 now, but I think that Darnold and Mayfield will probably pass him 2 to 3 years from now. Again, just everybody has their different likes and dislikes. I think number 4 is Lamar Jackson. I don't think he's as good as the other 3, but I think if he's in the right system and he's coached up correctly, he could become a pretty good starter. And then number 5, man, I go back and forth on this. I guess I would take Mason Rudolph. I'm not really a fan of his. I'm almost tempted to say Kyle Lauletta, to be honest with you, because I just don't believe in Rudolph at all. And the problem for me with Josh Allen is that while he may have the most upside of any quarterback in the draft, I just think that he's such a long shot to succeed that I can't put him in my top 5.
All right. Okay. Well, let's keep moving. We wanted to do another 2 weeks ago. We did a top 10 of our mock draft. We kind of wanted to do that again. So we're going to do that in a second. Really quickly, Scott, before we do that, I wanted to go over a few. We did this last week, and again, quick response. I wanted to go over a few of the Jets free agent signings and how you see their role with the team. That sound okay? Okay, so we'll start.
And I will keep it quick, I promise.
Okay, I mean, because yeah, because we want to do this mock draft. So I'll leave out some guys like Jermaine Johnson and whatnot.
We're doing a mock draft?
Literally what I just said.
Okay, you can't spring that on me.
Okay, Kyle, just do what you did last time and go to a simulator.
I didn't do that last time.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
This is why pre-show meetings might make some sense for you boys.
We did one.
Yeah, we didn't mention that. I put mock draft ? And then you didn't. You didn't respond to it.
I'm gonna check that right now.
Check your text. I was like, I put mock draft ? Anyways.
Okay, you put it in the middle of a 11 text span. It just says another mock ?
Okay. Anyways, Scott will start it off. Teddy Bridgewater.
Like the move, all upside, very little downside.
And how you see their role for 2018 as well. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I think if Bridgewater is even remotely close to healthy, he probably starts opening day. If he's not, then he probably ends up as the second or third quarterback. We'll find out. But if he is even anywhere close to healthy, it's a hell of a bargain.
Avery Williamson.
Another guy that I like. In fact, Joe Blewett, who's our newest addition over at turnonthejets.com, has been going through his film, and it appears that he's actually a much better coverage linebacker than most people give him credit for. Really good tackler, very underrated player who kind of flew under the radar, and he's younger than Demario Davis. I think it was a lot of people thought it was a wash. I think it's an upgrade, and he's a couple years younger, so I think he'll really, put a little bit of life into that Jets linebacking core.
Next on the list, we'll go with, I'm trying to decide, well, I guess we'll just do either or. Kevin Pierre-Louis / Brandon Copeland. 2 just kind of under the radar, middle linebacker signings, just special teams depth guys. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you just said it. Special teams depth guys. I think Pierre-Louis will be a nice addition, especially on special teams. Didn't cost much. I don't expect to see him on the field a ton outside of special teams or if somebody gets hurt, but quality depth signing.
Wait. Can I make a reference real quick?
Sure.
Yo, Pierre, you want to come out here? Scott's not going to get that. I think Ben might.
Nope.
What?
No idea.
No, Scott, I wasn't expecting you to. It's from a song, but Ben, you've never heard Yo Pierre, you want to come out here?
No.
Have you ever listened to a Playboi Carti song? Like, it was like the hottest song in the summer.
No, not at all.
Christ. What do you listen to out in the hills of Oregon?
A lot of Beethoven. No,
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, man. I was too busy listening to Leonard Skinner, who you should like because they're from Florida.
J. Cole? Kyle, I don't know.
I mean, I actually like J. Cole, so.
There you go. Okay, Andre Roberts.
I like it because he could be a pretty decent return guy, which the Jets clearly haven't had in a while. I don't expect him to do much at wide receiver, but if he ends up being the return guy and can be at least reasonably competent, it's a huge upgrade from what we watched last year with JoJo Natson. As I've said before, I think there's a rule. Every team is only allowed one good JoJo as a kick returner in their entire franchise history, and the Jets had theirs with JoJo Townsell. So hopefully Andre Roberts breaks the spell of bad kick returners.
Hey, Scott, you know who else came from Florida? Seeing as you think I should like people from Florida.
Okay, don't.
Who's that?
Aaron Hernandez.
Okay, moving on, Ben.
Neville Hewitt.
Can't claim
Another great tight end.
Can't claim to know much on that one, so yeah.
Right. Clive Walford.
That's another one of those low risk, high reward type things. Yeah, there you go. He's kind of in the same category that ASJ was a couple of years ago when the Jets got him off of waivers. Disappointing, although he's got potential. He's had some issues. We'll see. I think it was a flyer move, and it works. If he acts up or he doesn't do anything in camp, you cut him and you move on. And it's a little bit of insurance for Jordan Leggett in case he's not fully healed up.
Travis Swanson.
He's another guy that just seems like depth to me. Another guy that kind of was a little bit of a disappointment. I think he was drafted in like the 3rd round or something like that a couple of years ago and just never really got going. So another one. The Jets seem to do a lot of these. They especially in the last couple of weeks, they grabbed a lot of flyers. And there's nothing wrong with that because you don't pay a lot and it's a low risk, high reward type of move, and I'm fine with that.
All right, 2 more, both having this week. Charles Johnson. We'll start with him.
Yeah, I think Charles Johnson was hurt last year. He's okay. I mean, another depth signing.
Not bad.
They have about 85 wide receivers now. I don't expect most of these guys to be around. I doubt that Johnson even makes the roster, to be honest with you, but whatever, it can't hurt. I guess he has some familiarity with Bridgewater, which is good.
And last one, Kevin Minter.
That one I like. He's not in his prime anymore, obviously, but it's a nice depth signing at linebacker, and maybe he gets in there. Especially, the other thing about this is it gives him a little bit of insurance with Darren Lee if he's a pain in the ass or if he just doesn't perform. Because so far, I've gotten in arguments about this. Darren Lee's been a below average starter, which is not what you want out of a guy picked 20th in the draft. So at least Minter gives you I guess a chess piece to play some games with Darren Lee and say, listen, get your crap together, or you may see some more Minter in there.
Hey, Ben, do you want a gig on TNT calling NBA games?
Why?
Because I think a spot just opened up.
What happened?
You're gonna see it when you get on social media because I'm just scrolling through Instagram right now. An announcer just made like a very, very borderline racist comment. And I'm pretty sure he's going to get fired within the hour.
Like Kevin Harlan?
Who's the announcer and what did he say?
I don't know who the announcer is, but wow. I just said Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook made like an amazing 3, and the guy goes, he's out of his cotton-picking mind. So,
ooh,
yeah.
Well, that's an old saying. That's one of those if you're from the South, but.
Nope. That one, I don't anticipate that going well for him. I mean,
no, I agree. I'm just saying that, yeah, I'd have to see the context of it, but yeah, that's not going to go well for him.
No, Congrats, Ben, on the new job.
Oh boy. Okay. Anyway, well, I mean, I'm looking at it. Seems like it's an old saying, but I don't know if he's gonna.
I mean,
fired.
come on, you gotta.
Especially these days where you say anything, you're gonna get in hot water. He's gonna be in trouble.
Well, I mean,
like saying you like Josh Allen, right?
Right. I mean, you say that, and then now Dalvin and I went from being separated at birth to enemies because he's accusing me of Allen love. It's like treason against TOJ. Basically, he's accusing me of.
Oh, Civil War. Who's Iron Man and who's Captain America in this one?
Nah, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I love Dalvin, but yeah, no, I'm very curious to see where Josh Allen goes in this draft, boys. So let's get to that mock draft and see where we think he's going to go.
All right, this is the last thing we're going to do tonight. Top 10 of a mock draft. We did our top 10 last week. I tried to change mine up a bit. I mean, even though last week or 2 weeks ago I was pretty confident in what I had, but just for the sake of interest, I tried to change some things. So we'll see what everybody thinks. All right, Kyle, do you have your top 10 ready? And I so want to just put Josh Allen number 1, but I'm not going to. I guess I'll start it off for everybody. I still wanted to, but here's what I'm put Sam Darnold. I think the Josh Allen stuff is smoke screen for whatever reason. I really hope it's not. I really hope they took Josh Allen, and if they do that, Jets fans, I believe the Giants will take Sam Darnold. The report is that that's the only quarterback the Giants will take. Again, take that with a grain of salt, but. If Josh Allen goes number 1, I'd expect Sam Darnold to go number 2, and then Josh Rosen. And then the Jets literally couldn't lose if Josh Allen goes number 1. So I'm all for it. But the Cleveland Browns, very analytical team. I mean, Scott, you talked to Jim Coburn, so have I. Every analytic points to Josh Allen being the worst bust in NFL history. Really, the only thing he has going, I shouldn't say that, but really everything he has going for him is stuff that you watch. It's like, wow, I mean, he's huge. Wow, he can throw really far. I mean, it's just, but stuff on paper, I mean, his completion percentage and all that stuff. And
much of his film, Ben, is bad. So much of it. It's one of those things where, like I said, if you sit and watch his highlight reel, you'll think he's the best quarterback you've ever seen. If you sit and watch his full games, you're going to go, oh, God. And then people will say, this guy's going to, he's a top 5 talent. And to me, well, we'll get into this as we go along in this mock draft, but when I tell you where I think Allen is going to go, I'll talk more about it.
All right. But I just think Cleveland Browns are a very analytical team. I doubt they'll end up taking a guy like Allen. So I have them going Darnold. Kyle?
I have them taking Samuel Darnold out of University of Southern California.
Okay. All right. Scott?
Yeah, I have Darnold too. I think cooler heads will prevail. From what I understand, there is a legitimate tug of war in that room as far as who they're going to end up picking, whether it would be Darnold or Allen. But I think ultimately they take Darnold, which makes sense. David Aiken had 2 really interesting points about Darnold, and I agree with him. He said, Darnold is the guy that Mel Kiper is trying to convince you that Josh Allen is, meaning that he really is the guy that has some flaws, but they're fixable, and when you fix them, he could become potentially one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And the other thing that he said that I thought was interesting was Darnold's the kind of guy that could lead the league in interceptions his first year, and by year 3 he's leading the league in touchdowns. I think he could be a very special talent if he gets coached properly. I don't think his mechanics are as bad as some people say. There have been guys like Tony Romo, who is a little wild, and Phillip Rivers, who obviously throws sidearm, and he's fine. So I think if they fix a couple of things, he'll be really good, and he's a perfect fit for Todd Haley's downfield passing attack. Really good athlete for his size as well. I think he fits the Browns, and I think that's where eventually the Browns will have their come-to-Jesus moment, and they'll pick him number 1.
All right, it's been 18 minutes, so.
Okay, we'll roll through this fast. Giants, number 2. I wanted to go Josh Allen here. I really think that they're probably more interested in Allen than people think. I mean, the Giants would be a reasonably okay place for Allen. I mean, in theory, you'd have Eli to be able to start for a few years, and Allen can grow. And Gettleman is kind of that old-timey football guy that might like Allen. But I'm going to say they go Bradley Chubb here. Try to go for the win now. Try to win with this window of opportunity they have. Kyle?
I have them taking Saquon Barkley out of Pennsylvania State University. And the Paterno movie, I don't know if anybody watched it in here, Anybody watch it?
Nope.
Not yet.
Spoiler, he dies. Sorry. I'm kind of happy he's dead.
Okay. What was your pick?
Saquon
Barkley.
Okay, sorry.
You think I just tied that into Penn State for no reason?
Welcome to mock drafts mock draft picks that really have nothing to do with what you're talking about for 100, please, Alex.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going to project a trade at number 2 here, and I'm going to say the Bills are going to come up and get they're going to surprise people. There's all this buzz about Allen, but I think they're going to move up and take Josh Rosen at number 2. I think it'll probably cost them both of their first rounders, 2 second rounders, and maybe a third and a fourth as well. That's what the buzz is. But I think that they want to get their quarterback, and I think it's ultimately going to be Rosen. It could be Allen or Mayfield, really, but I think it'll be Rosen.
All right. Number 3, I have the Jets taking Josh Rosen, as you said. I mean, my favorite quarterback in the class. He's available. I think he's available. The Jets are going to take him. Kyle?
I have the Jets taking Jewish Jesus out of Cal.
Again, you realize that Jesus was Jewish Jesus, right?
I am aware of this, Scott. Let the joke play.
Yeah, but it's not a joke so much as a factual inaccuracy, Kyle. I think you need to recognize the difference, man.
Have you ever listened to the Jet Take podcast?
I have, but I'm trying to educate you on the difference. Yeah, but factual inaccuracies are not jokes. Anyway.
I don't know.
Moving along.
Manning has a couple charges against him that weren't really true, but are jokes.
Okay. So I'm going to, with Rosen and Darnold off of the board, I'm going to say that the Jets take Mayfield. I do think that it's still possible they take Allen. There's all this buzz about how much the Jets love Mayfield, but the pessimist in me wonders if the Jets are just floating that out there to try and entice a team that likes Mayfield into trading ahead of them. I don't really know, but I think if it comes down to Mayfield and Allen, knock on wood, I would think that that it could be Mayfield here. And I think whether it's, as you said, Mayfield, Rosen, or Darnold, the Jets couldn't lose. The only way they lose is if it's Allen. I think Mayfield could light this town on fire in a positive way, and the more I watch it. The more I watch of Mayfield, though, the more I'm excited about the possibility of the Jets getting him. He's so dynamic, and I think he would be perfect for Bates' offense. So that's where I think the Jets go if Rosen and Darnold are off the board.
Okay, I'll go number 4. Scott, you were to trade up. I have a trade up as well. The Bills move up to number 4, and I really hope it was for Josh Allen. And Scott, this might kill you. It's for Baker Mayfield. I really just think he fits in with the Bills persona. Bills Mafia, they move in right after the Jets who take in Josh Rosen. I mean, again, the Bills are another very analytical savvy team. This past year, they played a lot of money ball.
They're really analytically savvy with A.J. McCarron. I'm really feeling it right now.
I mean, obviously, Kyle, that's their plan to be a backup. I'm just saying, I think they're going to go.
Who's their starter?
He's not going to be their starter. Well, I mean, he might be for the first few weeks, but they're not their long-term starter. I believe they're going to trade up and take Baker Mayfield. I wish it was for Josh Allen, though. Kyle.
What do you got, Kyle?
Oh, for the 4th pick? I have Cleveland taking Bradley Chubb.
All right.
Okay.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm going to have Bradley Chubb going to Cleveland as well. I just think that they could trade out at a pick or take Barkley, but I think that the opportunity to put Chubb with Myles Garrett is just too tempting. To have 2 pass rushers that talented could really be a huge – and that combined with Sam Darnold could be just some major building blocks in Cleveland. So I agree with Kyle. I think if the board breaks this way, I think Chubb goes 4.
All right, number 5, the Broncos. I have the same pick as I had him taken last time, Josh Allen. I just feel like Josh Allen's a Denver-style quarterback. I don't know what it is. I just have that feeling about it. Maybe. But it's also just – I mean – I just feel like, and Denver might be a good place for Allen. I mean, might be a place for him to succeed. But I can see the Paxton Lynch comparisons. We'll see how it all pans out. But I haven't taken Josh Allen. Kyle?
I also have them taking Josh Allen.
Scott?
Yeah, I have that too. I think it's interesting because
good job,
because Elway, the two guys that he's really, drafted high, Osweiler in the second round, and then in the first round, Paxton Lynch. Both guys fit that same mold, and both were bad and failed hard. So the question is whether or not Elway learns his lesson. In this exercise, I'll say no, but I do think that if he has the opportunity to draft Mayfield over Allen, he might. In this case, I'm saying he doesn't, so I think he goes Allen, but it could also be Quentin Nelson.
All right, well, number 6, I have the Indianapolis Colts taking Saquon Barkley. Scott, or Kyle?
I've been taking Quentin Nelson.
And Scott?
I've got the Bears trading up to 6 to grab Barkley. There's been talk that they're looking to trade Jordan Howard. If that happens, they can jump up 2 spots, something similar to what they did last year with Trubisky. And now think about it. They give him Allen Robinson. They got Tariq Cohen there to go with Barkley. And now you're cooking with gas. You're giving the kids some real weapons to work with. So I think that's an intriguing possibility if Barkley's on the board at 6.
All right, me too. Number 7, I have the Bucs taking Minkah Fitzpatrick. Kyle?
I also have been taking Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Wow, we're really in sync today, Kyle. We might need to. I mean, the whole show is based off the fact that we never agree, but today we're just really in sync. Scott?
Yeah. I can't wait.
I got the Bucs taking. I've got the Bucs taking Denzel Ward. I think he's the best pure corner in the draft. Heavy hitter, really good coverage guy, and I think he fits perfectly back there. They desperately need a cover corner, and I think that's who they go for if he's on the board at 7.
All right, number 8, I have the Bears getting a steal, Quentin Nelson.
Monster in the Midway. That would be great if he wore that hat.
Kyle?
I have been taking Roquan Smith.
All right, Scott.
Okay. I've got the Colts who traded back to 8 in my scenario, taking Nelson, which would be a nice gift to the supposedly returning Andrew Luck.
Yeah, he won't play at all this year.
All right, number 9, the 49ers. It's the one I've gone back and forth on. Part of me wants them to have, part of me wants to go Denzel Ward here, the corner, as Scott talked about. I mean, he is arguably the best pure corner in the draft. You can pair him up with Richard Sherman. Part of me also wants to go Harold Landry and get that pass rush going. I'm torn. I think Denzel Ward is the better player, so they'll go there. But I was really I was literally just changing. I kept changing it back and forth with each pick. I couldn't decide, but I'll go Denzel Ward here. I think you just pair him with Sherman, you put him under him, let him learn. I think you'll see a terrific player come out of that. Kyle?
I have been taking Tremaine Edmonds.
All right, Scott?
This is where I have Minkah Fitzpatrick going. I think the Niners could decide to use him at safety or corner, but this gives them flexibility, and I think at this point, with Ward, in my scenario, not available, he's the best guy on the board in the defensive backfield.
Yeah, I don't think the 49ers need a safety as much as people might think. I mean, Tart is a very solid, strong safety, and then the guy that came around really at the end of the year was Colbert at free safety. So I don't really think they need a safety as much. I mean, but I think Minkah Fitzpatrick, if he's there, is the guy they'll take, and then they'll try to play him at corner. But you're right. I mean, they have the flexibility. I think they'll go secondary. But part of me was like, if a guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick isn't available, could they consider a guy like Harold Landry, who's arguably the best pass rusher in the draft? Number 10, final, to wrap up our last pick of the top 10, the Oakland Raiders. I haven't taken Roquan Smith. Getting Chucky his own Derek Brooks. His new Derek Brooks, I probably should say.
I pray for you sometimes. I've been taking Denzel Ward. No, you're right. I want you to burn.
All right, Scott?
I'm with Ben. I have Roquan Smith going here. I think he's the best.
I heard that very soft laugh when I...
That was more of a moan.
But I think Smith fits here. They need athleticism at inside linebacker. Smith is the best inside linebacker in the draft. He's the best player on the board at that point, so I think that's where they go. Although with John Gruden, maybe they'll look to see who the oldest player in the draft left on the board is and pick him.
Or the worst haircut.
Breaking news, the Oakland Raiders have signed Andre Ingram. Anyways,
Ben, that joke didn't hit the first time. It didn't.
It might have hit both times, Kyle. We don't know. Anyway.
Oh, you hit both times?
Yes, it did actually.
Actually, Casino'd it?
Yes.
Oh.
I think you have the wrong. Anyways,
No,
Scott.
No. You. I don't think you know the reference.
I don't think you know the reference.
Do you want to discuss this right here, right now?
No, I don't think we should.
Okay,
anyway,
that's what I thought.
Scott.
So I got the right reference.
We did a little mock draft. We did a little free agency overview. Anything else you'd like to talk about before we head into the massive 25-minute Scott Mason plug?
Yeah, I mean, what else is going on? That's pretty much the main topics of conversation at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're just waiting for draft. We're just waiting for draft night.
Oh,
Scott,
you know what? One quick. You guys, especially Kyle, you're too much. One quick thing, boys, and I want to run this because I know Kyle. Antonio Callaway, I mean, there were supposedly new red flags that popped up today, but he has visited the Jets. I think they met with him more than once. I would love to see that. I know he's got a lot of problems off the field, but if they could somehow find a way to keep this guy on the relatively straight and narrow, he reminds me a lot of a bigger, stronger Santana Moss. If you put him with Robbie Anderson, well, assuming that that they can both somehow find a way to stay out of trouble, that's going to be some real trouble for some defenses. I think it would be an interesting move to make if he's available in like the 6th or 7th round, because to be honest, guys, the more tape I watch, the more I'm convinced that my original thought is true, which is that he's the best wide receiver in this draft.
When would you take Callaway?
That's a good question. I guess it really depends. Connor Rogers, who's our guy at TOJ, and obviously he does that stuff over at Bleacher Report with Matt Miller and Stick to Football and all that. He is convinced that Callaway is probably going in the 4th. I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say. I don't know if I would burn a 4th-round pick on him. It's tough. But if he's sitting there in like the 6th round or something, that's the perfect spot to take a guy like that.
Yeah, I think. I know Kyle, a big Florida Gator fan. I think he probably agrees with you. All right, Scott, give it to us. Give us the Play Like a Jet rundown. Try the Jets rundown.
This is the TOJ Digital rundown, which you guys are a part of, by the way. So just throwing that out there. So here's some stuff we've got going on at TOJ Digital. Obviously, you're listening to the Jet Take right now. So 8 o'clock every Wednesday night. These two fellas are live. Then I call in at some point and try and make sure that they haven't killed each other yet. Joel Corry on today, great guest. They've got more great guests to announce coming up over the next couple of weeks. And Kyle has the privilege of being the anchor of our round 1 coverage, which is an enormous responsibility, so I hope he's going to be ready for it.
Yeah, I had to break that.
Ben, we wanted the two of you, but unfortunately you have another activity going on that day.
That's like giving Matt Sims the starting job for the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't understand.
Or Greg McElroy.
Am I going to lose Kennedy too?
What?
Didn't Matt Sims have to retire because of like a major?
No, that's Chris Sims. Wrong Sims.
Oh God! Damn it!
It's really ready for draft night.
Damn it!
Scott, continue.
So you guys are going to be carrying that on draft night, but I'm really looking forward to what you have in store over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun. We dropped draft season this morning. Normally it would come out on Tuesday. We had a couple of issues with upload space, but it was myself and Joe Malfa. I was filling in for Dalbin, who had a stomach virus, and we were able to have Chris Ello on, who is the sideline reporter for San Diego State football, because we were talking about the top 5 running backs, and this is a guy that I know that Kyle likes as well, Rashad Penny. Chris Ello came on to talk about him. He told us some fun stories about Rashad Penny, and also some cool stories about Tony Gwynn, who I know is before your time, but is one of the greatest baseball players of all time. So check that out. That's draft season. That's brand new. The quarterback series, getting into the quarterbacks, which I'm really humbled by the positive response that we've been getting for this. The Josh Rosen and Josh Allen ones have done really well. People really seem to like them, and we're getting so much feedback on the Baker Mayfield ones. I was just checking out the analytics on it, and it looks like we may actually have the highest numbers yet for that one. A lot of interest in Baker Mayfield. but it was your old friend, Mr. Jim Coburn, talking about the analytics of Baker Mayfield, which, spoiler alert, are off the chart. His analytics are outstanding. So from that standpoint, the analytics guys love Baker. Plus, Mark Schofield and Dan Orlovsky were back to break down the film, and Dan Orlovsky had a very interesting observation about Baker Mayfield and his mechanics and why he believes he'd be the perfect fit for that Bates offense. And then also Eddie Radosevich, who's a reporter for Soonerscoop.com, the Rivals network out there in Oklahoma. He came on to talk about Baker Mayfield from a local perspective and tell some stories and give some impressions of Baker from covering him the last couple of years. I think it was a really interesting bunch of voices to have on to really paint a complete picture of Baker Mayfield. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out yet and you're interested in learning about Mayfield, or you want to go back and learn about Rosen and Allen, go ahead. The next one will be next Tuesday. It'll be the final one, Sam Darnold. But I'm working on a bonus edition that will come out after the draft. I'll have more info on that probably within the next couple of weeks. And then we've got the Turn on the Jets podcast with Patrick Claybon. That should be dropping, I believe, tomorrow in the morning. So that'll be fun. That's Joe Caparoso. I just listened to that interview, and it was very insightful. Patrick Claybon is one of my favorites from NFL Network. So go ahead and check that out. And then my podcast, Play Like a Jet with Big John Spiropoulos, that'll drop on Friday. We're going to get into the next part of our series with Thomas Jones on 2009. And now the Jets have finally reached the playoffs. On last week's show, they beat a Cincinnati team that rested all their starters, and the Jets improbably got in after 2 weeks earlier, Rex Ryan coming out and saying the Jets had been eliminated, which he later found out wasn't true. And so this week we'll get into the playoff run from 2009, which, as you recall, Ben and Kyle, was Mark Sanchez's rookie year. It was also Rex's first year here. And so it could be a glimpse into some of the ups and downs we may see if one of these rookie quarterbacks ends up getting the nod this year. Could see some ups and some downs, but the last time you saw a highly touted rookie getting the start on opening day, and by highly touted I mean picked in the top 5, I'm not talking about Geno Smith, it was Sanchez. It was almost 10 years ago now, believe it or not, and you can relive the experience by checking out the new episode Friday on 2009, and if you've missed any of the other ones, you can go ahead and check out the archive. They're all there. But guys, thanks again for putting up with me for a couple of minutes. I'm glad that you're both still alive somehow. I'm really looking forward to the future podcasts that you guys are doing. You guys are crushing it. You're doing better than ever. I really love the variety of callers and the different topics that you guys have going on. Ben, you're doing a great job anchoring things. Kyle, you're doing a great job of being Kyle. And I'm really looking forward to the Jet Take pushing forward over the next couple weeks into the draft coverage. And like I said, Kyle, if we didn't all love you, we wouldn't trust you with arguably the most important podcast that we're going to do all year, because we will probably not get more ears on a podcast than we will for the round 1 coverage. So you're going to bring your A+ game, but we all trust you.
Yeah, I know you guys love and trust me. That's never been in doubt.
Oh, boy. Well, all right. Well, Scott, thank you so much.
That was a humble slice of pie I just served up.
I just I pray for the Turn on the Jets digital network. Kyle might bring it all down in one night.
Fingers crossed. Ben, it's your fault, man. If you were here, it could have been the two of you, but you got a prior engagement, so now it's all Fahey.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a bummer. But that Wednesday, that night before, I'll still be there, so I can still try to get some pre-draft glory. Scott, It is always great to have you. Thank you for your kind words. Your help has really grown our show the past few weeks. We're doing better than as you said, we're doing better than we ever have. So thank you for your help. Thank you for everybody's help at Turn on the Jets, and the Turn on the Jets digital network. And we're very excited for this draft coverage, even if I won't be there during that weekend, which is kind of a bummer. Kyle, don't let me down.
Ben, one thing I almost forgot. I'm sorry. I got to throw this in too. I forgot one of our podcasts. There's a brand new edition. It dropped on Monday. Connor Rogers, Stick to the Jets. He answers mailbag questions. So people have been writing in the last couple of weeks. He hadn't gotten the questions. This week, the mailbag episode dropped. So that's available too at turnonjets.com and iTunes and everything. That's dropped on Monday. Stick to the Jets with Connor Rogers.
All right, well, make sure to check out all those fantastic pods. If you don't like ours, I guarantee you'll find one that you do like. It's pretty sad.
I think they'll like all of them. If they like yours, they'll like all of them.
Oh, no, I'm saying they should like all of them, but I'm saying if you don't, if for some reason, Scott, if for some reason a particular person doesn't like your podcast, I guarantee you there's something they do like. I think that's the best thing about Turn of the Jets is the variety. I'm not dissing your show. Do you not understand what I'm saying?
I'm playing, Ben, I'm playing with you. I'm playing with you.
Of course. The variety
that's the beauty of
podcasts, of
Ben's
articles, of content.
And not realizing it, so.
Of content on Turn of the Jets is astounding. So there's something for everybody. Is basically what I'm saying. Scott, I'm sure most people enjoy your show. Is what I was.
No, I'm busting your chops. Yeah, man. If you don't like strawberry ice cream, we got vanilla, we got chocolate, we got Rocky Road, a little bit of everything.
I'm lactose intolerant.
What's our ice cream, Scott? On the spot, rhymed.
Let's see. Let's go with chocolate chip cookie dough.
Okay, I like chocolate. I thought Rocky Road was probably a good.
Rocky Road works too, actually.
All right, well, Rocky Road. What are you? I mean, you need to be like a blast from the past. So like.
Oh, Superman ice cream.
We need some '70s throwback ice cream.
I don't know what would be. I guess I would be like an old classic. Like maybe I'm Neapolitan. Like I'm a little chocolate strawberry vanilla mix, something like that.
All right, I like that. Joe, Turn of the Jets.
I think it's ration bread and beans.
Which also, if you know my girlfriend, then you also know why that makes sense.
Yeah. Ha. Get it.
Kyle got it.
Yeah, I get it.
I got it too. All right. I got it. Anyways, Scott, thank you so much for joining us, man. Glad to have you on, man, and we enjoy your Neapolitan ice cream takes every time you come on. So
thanks, boys. Looking forward to talking to you next week. And Kyle, if you have a couple minutes after, let me know.
Yeah, just stay on.
Oh wow,
all right, will do.
All right, just exclude me from this meeting.
No, you can stay on too.
No, we can't.
All right, that's all right, whatever. Anyways, all right, we'll put Scott on mute. I guess they'll talk afterwards. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the Jet Take. As Scott said, you can find us on turnonthejets.com. Follow them for all the best Jets content out there. If you like our show, you'll probably like Scott's show, Connor's show, a draft season, Turn on the Jets. There's all sorts of content. So make sure you go there. You can check out our show individually at iTunes. Just search us up. You can also find us Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We're all over the place. As far as social media goes, follow us at the Jet Take. Please, please, please follow us. That's the best place to keep up with us. We love interacting with fans. If you want to, send us hate mail, please do. I know Kyle gets a few hate tweets every week. I love responding to them.
Somebody said to fire me. Oh, that was the first one.
No, I've gotten a few of those. That's the first one I sent in. I keep getting DMs about let's fire Kyle. If you agree with that, I'm all for you. If you don't, I'm still all for you. It's just.
Can I put in my comments on that?
Sure.
All right, I'm gonna clap right now so we know where to bleep it.
No, I don't want to edit and bleep.
You all can just
stop. All right. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the Jet Take. We'll be back next week with, I believe that is. No, I think we have 2 weeks until the draft. Yeah, we have two episodes until the draft, and then you'll have your special alone episode. Well, I guess you'll have some people helping you out.
But I like alone time.
Okay, I know you do.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you so much for listening. We hope to hear from you guys next week with some all-new topics, potential interview, and we'll see you guys in 7 days.
Aaron Hernandez is from Florida.
That was it, really?